Chapter 501, Kong Min-hee. Kuru Room. The sky seems to roar. From the hole within Kong Min-hee's heart essence, a terrifying rumble echoes forth. At that moment, I catch a glimpse of something beyond. Flicker, flicker, flicker. It is fire, a crimson flame blazing fiercely. And at the center of that flame burns a towering crimson flame giant. The flame god Yan Xian, clad in the tribunal robes, glares directly at me. Do you dare stand in the way of the workings of the Imperial Venerable? Do. For some reason, despite recognizing the existence of that being, my soul does not become corrupted. No substantial wisdom flows into me. The little wisdom I do receive is limited to the title and name of that being. Beyond that, no further knowledge invades to corrupt or erode me. It feels as if that being is intentionally showing me mercy. To close the door of that child is to obstruct not only this lord, but the workings of the Imperial Venerable. I will consider it an act of defiance. Step back. Chi-ji-ji-jik. My eyes begin to feel increasingly dry. Even with this act of consideration, I feel that if I continue to gaze directly at them, my eyes will be scorched. Before me is the tribunal chief of flames. The foremost among the underworld 10 kings. The current chief judge, Yama True Lord Yama, speaks, and in that instant, a future flashes before my eyes. It is a vision of myself being dragged into the depths of the deep underworld and endlessly tortured under Yama's authority. This is no mere illusion. The celestial energy shifts, fixing my future into that outcome. If I reject Yama True Lord's words here and continue trying to close the gate to save Kong Min-hee, that future will inevitably become my fate. However, the searing pain of my body burning away is not particularly frightening. What I fear more is the pain of failing to save Kong Min-hee now and later, living with the self-reproach that will follow. It is the torment I would inflict upon myself. Can I do it? No. Doubt is unnecessary. I must do it. I will. Keying. Behind my head, a wheel rises like a halo. Yama True Lord, as if enraged, erupts into a furious blaze that engulfs their entire body. Closing my eyes momentarily, I recall the scene I witnessed just moments ago. The white wheel I had seen from the oldest one. I bring to mind that wheel. How that wheel reversed. How that wheel operated. What sort of attraction force operated within it, and what authority surged through it. Wing. The wheel begins to reverse. Yama True Lord invokes their authority. Before I know it, the surroundings have shifted entirely. It seems that Yama True Lord momentarily distorted reality with their authority, creating a new dimension. From the distant sky, something massive resembling a jade seal, imperial seal, begins to fall. Kwang. I am instantly crushed to death beneath the jade seal. Keying. However, even though I die, the wheel continues to reverse. Pot. With that, I raise myself up and glance to the side. There is a blazing stamp of fire, and beneath it lies what appears to be the remnants of me. But I am not dead. Audacious thing, you dare face this judge while performing the advancement ritual for Earth. Quadudududuke. The next moment, a flaming hand thrusts into my mouth. The fiery hand grips my tongue from within and pulls it out entirely. Starting with my tongue, the nebula within my body, my inner core, my outer core, my attraction force, and even the explosions, all of it is ripped out, leaving me dead on the spot. TL. Core as in planetary core. The wheel reverses. I find myself standing once more, staring at the figure of my own corpse lying beside me, lifeless, with everything within me ripped out. Immediately after, I am sliced to death by a saw. The wheel reverses. I am frozen within ice, my soul itself freezing solid, and I die. The wheel reverses. I am the wheel. ... How many times have I died, and died, and died, and died over again? Kwaggg. I find myself in a Blade Mountain hell, Dao Shan De Yu, my entire body impaled, fully aware of my impending death. TL. Blade Mountain hell is the 7th layer of the 18 levels of hell in Chinese myth. Yet, I remain indifferent to the pain, steadying myself in place. Slowly, I kneel. Though my entire body is pierced through, it is bearable. Slowly, in that state, I bow towards the Yama True Lord. I thank the great Yama True Lord for their mercy. I know, they are killing me with consideration. If they truly used the full authority of their original body, crushing me completely along with the wheel and taxidermizing me would be a trivial feat. Yet, they spare the wheel, granting me permission to resurrect and repeat the meaningless deaths. I glance behind me. Already, hundreds of my corpses lie in view. I suspected it from the start. According to the words of Blood Yin, I must have stolen something that is called the immortal art of the wheel. However, the Yama True Lord, rather than unleashing fury against me, shows consideration, merely allowing me to know their name without inflicting unbearable torment. Therefore, the countless deaths they inflict on me here and now are nothing more than a kind of trial. Wu Wang, I am forcibly lifted to my feet by an overwhelming force. Yama True Lord, their towering body blazing with flames, briefly looks down at me. Do not kneel. One who bears the wheel does not kneel recklessly. The wheel, the immortal art that combines the flawless mantra and the phenomena extinguishing mantra. The recent trial, it seems, was entirely their way of teaching me how to properly wield this wheel. Following the simple resets, I grasped the abilities of this wheel a little more clearly. The ability of the wheel is to rearrange causality, yin guo cause and effect. To be precise, it is more accurate to say it organizes causality. At present, I do not die easily. My main body itself has become a kind of immortal art, and I have transcended life halfway, becoming a being too immense to be considered merely a living creature. Such a being as I cannot simply die from trivialities like having a stamp pressed onto my body, being frozen, having my tongue and entrails torn out, or being burned alive. What Yama True Lord did is overlay death upon me through the form of death. By reversing the wheel, I returned myself to the state before the overlaid death, restoring it as it was. It is the act of restoring to my original state before any history or prophecy overlaid on me by true immortal and above entities through organizing casualty. In other words, this is a means suitable for resisting the power of true immortals, similar to the extinguishing divine tribulating heavens technique. Impressive. Yama True Lord lets out a small exclamation of admiration as they watch me firmly maintain the wheel. Do you truly intend to save that child, who has received the support of the underworld? Do you truly seek to save the child who will become the vessel for the Imperial Venerable's descent? Yes, even if your path becomes a thorny road fraught with hardship. Compared to the thorny road before me. I speak as I stare resolutely at Yama True Lord. The sword mountain within me is far more agonizing. At that moment, the world became clear in an instant. The inner depths of the dimension created by the Yama True Lord, filled with only darkness and flames, is rewritten. It transforms into a glass sword mountain. The flawless and clear glass sword mountain is piercing me. At the same time, the Yama True Lord's body is pierced all over by my glass swords within this sword mountain. It is clear, flawlessly clear, and it hurts. I have witnessed the ultimate extreme of pain. The extreme of pain surpasses even the karmic fire of the former chief judge. That pain is none other than oneself. The Wuji religious order evaporated, and my karmic fire was extinguished. Though I learned of this only later, the condition for extinguishing the karmic fire is for one's own pain and remorse to surpass the pain of the karmic fire itself. When that happens, the fire naturally goes out. From that, I came to understand one fact. No matter how painful and terrifying external pain may be, it cannot compare to what lies within oneself. Enduring 100 lashings is not as effective as repenting to oneself even once. Therefore, I do not want to do anything that I will regret. I do not wish to suffer. Having reached the pinnacle of pain, I dislike pain even more. And because I have realized that the greatest pain is my own regret, I seek to live a life free of regret. If I were to die tonight, I would commit nothing in the morning that I would regret. Please, return her to me. Yama True Lord gazes at me for a moment, then looks around at the colorless sword mountain. Good. Even though they are pierced through by the sword mountain, they show no sign of pain and, instead, seem to be in a good mood. I permit it. ! At those words, I feel a tingling sensation coursing through my entire body. The chief judge has granted permission to save Kong Min-hee. However, as for what is binding that child, judge it for yourself. Having finished speaking, Chief Judge Yama True Lord raises one hand. O karmic mirror, Yi Jing, close your eyes. Return the distinguished one to his place. Simultaneously, the small dimension transformed by my will begins to tremble and distort. Soon after, I find myself facing the Yama True Lord sitting in a lotus position, along with a massive, mirror-like object behind them reflecting the both of us. Wo Wang. In an instant, I return to my main body with them. This place is just before. It is the very moment when I was holding Kong Min-hee's arm and peering into the hole within her heart essence. I see. Was that small dimension something created by Yama True Lord's immortal treasure? It seems to be something that reflects a person's essence, history, or similar concepts. Tingle, tingle. I feel a tingling sensation as something flows into my mind. It is wisdom bestowed by the Yama True Lord. The method to fill the hole in Kong Minhee's heart essence. Wo Wang. As I enter the depths of her heart essence, I raise both hands and begin chanting the flawless mantra. Wo Wang. Between my hands, a black circle formed by attraction force rises. Wing. I feel the circle rotating. Along with it, the black hole in front of me begins to resonate. SSSSSSs. Using the wisdom granted by the Yama True Lord, I reduce the size of the flawless mantra. Although it is wisdom received from them, it feels like something I might have eventually discovered through further study of the flawless mantra. As the circle of the flawless mantra shrinks, the black hole simultaneously begins to decrease in size. TSTSTSTSTSTSTs. Then, at a certain moment, pot, the circle condenses to a single point and vanishes, and the black hole likewise becomes a tiny dot before scattering away. Entirely. It's done. At last, I am able to save Kong Minhee. Pot. I roam through Kong Minhee's heart essence, searching for her main consciousness. How much time has passed? Eventually, I find her main consciousness lying dormant at the center of a mass of dark clouds. Pot. Twin flowers reaching the heavens. White orchid flower. The energy of blessings dispels the surrounding darkness. I approach her main consciousness, grab her by the shoulders, and shake her. Wake up, Kong Minhee. At this, Kong Minhee half opens her eyes. A somewhat dazed gaze. She is dreaming. I use the Sea of Righteousness and Mountain of Grace to enter her dream. This is my house. The home I miss dearly. The splendid house where I could always enjoy a comfortable life, equipped with magical artifacts like the one called a computer, as well as light fixtures, an air conditioner, and a boiler. And this is currently a scene where I am sitting on the bed, saying something to Kong Minhee, whose face is slightly flushed. This is that day. It was the day Kong Minhee drank too much and passed out, and I had no choice but to bring her to my house and let her rest in my room for a while. Kong Minhee and I are talking about something. She says, "Can't you even take what's given to you?" While letting out a deep sigh, and I seem to be laughing, saying, "Just buy me a meal." After some time, we begin to bicker about something. Then, leaning close to her ear, I whisper something. Hearing my words, Kong Minhee briefly shows a blank expression. She stays still for a long moment before quietly leaning her head on my shoulder. This was the day we began our brief romance again. Stop watching. Pasasasasik. The dream begins to blur, and Kong Minhee appears beside me. What are you doing here? Get out. Holding a smoking pipe in one hand and dressed in a black robe, she looks at me with cold eyes. I was just reminiscing about old dreams in my sleep, but here you are, spying on me like a pervert. As always, you're the worst. Get lost. It was just a memory, and I have no intention of getting together with you again. I know. If you know. Without saying anything else, I take Kong Minhee's hand. Let's go. For now, let's leave, and then we'll talk. Let go. As I hold her hand, Kong Minhee seems flustered and tries to pull her hand away. But I don't let go. Holding her hand, I move forward. Deeper into her heart essence. There, countless ominous and foreboding energies are lurking. Let go. Let me go. Hurry. Do you want to die? Kong Minhee starts to get angry. However, I somehow sense a tremble in her voice. I reply, I won't die. Don't talk nonsense. What would you know? What would you know? Wiu. I can see dark clouds around us. Within Kong Minhee's heart essence. No, this place isn't exactly her heart essence. It's filled with resentful spirits nested within her soul. Stop pretending to be strong, Seo Eun-yun. Let go of me already. Before I know it, her voice has become tearful. She is worried about me. I begin reading her past with the vision of the Earth Tribe. Since I already roughly heard about what happened to her in Black Ghost Valley, it isn't difficult to read. I come to understand what has happened in that time. Though I can't properly read anything about the whole of the underworld, I can read about the ghosts. I see. So this is what the chief judge meant. However, as for what is binding that child, judge it for yourself. Kong Minhee acts strong on the outside, but in truth, she is fragile inside. Despite that, she carries an enormous sense of responsibility. The ghosts. Kong Minhee, having entered Black Ghost Valley, learned the Serene Soul true secrets to console the souls of ghosts. The reason was simple. She pitied the ghostly souls, who, even in death, were being enslaved within Black Ghost Valley. She began to embrace the ghosts, one by one. She started to hold them, comfort them, and console them. And gradually, ghosts began to gather around her. It wasn't due to some innate constitution like the ghostly yin transformation immortal root. It was her attitude, her genuine efforts to understand the emotions of the ghosts, to console them, and to embrace them. That attitude was what drew the ghosts to her. During the Seven Stars ritual, a group of ghosts who obeyed her command burst forth and punched a hole through the thick black clouds. Even during her advancement to the chi-building stage, she didn't require chi-building pills. The ghosts willingly offered their ghostly energy to help her advance. Unlike Jeon Myung-hoon, who required devouring heavenly tribulations to grow, her growth wasn't restricted before reaching the nascent soul stage. Without any hindrance, from the day she learned the serene soul true secrets, she steadily grew with the help of the ghosts, advancing all the way to the four-axis stage. However, there was a side effect. Kang Min-hee began to sense her mind being gradually eroded by the ghosts. The pain of the ghosts. Their lingering resentment. The terror of not wanting to die. The fear of death. These horrifying emotions gradually consumed Kang Min-hee's mind. To endure this, Kang Min-hee tried recalling the happy days of her life. Strangely, the first memory that came to her was the scene of watching the sunset through clouded skies with her ex-boyfriend at an observation deck. Although she wasn't pleased with that memory, to retain her sanity, she continued her cultivation while recalling it. Then, one day, she felt that something beyond herself was calling to her. That something said it would help her, that embracing the ghosts, resentment alone must be agonizing, and if she sought its aid, it would share the burden with her. Kang Min-hee refused. However, at some point, the call grew stronger. The call began teaching her a formula. At first, she ignored the formula, but as time passed, the call intensified. Then, one day, Kang Min-hee met Seo Eun-yeon again. The day she reunited with Seo Eun-yeon, who had become a grand cultivator. On that day, she was thrown somewhere by the power of Oh Hai Seo, and before she knew it, she found herself on the brink of falling into the maw of a terrifying existence. To overcome this crisis, there was only one solution. Kang Min-hee had to fully accept the power of the ghosts. Until then, she hadn't fully embraced their resentment and pain. She had only cradled them, drawing a small amount of ghostly energy for use. If she properly integrated with the ghosts, she could immediately wield tremendous authority. To resolve the situation, Kang Min-hee accepted the ghosts. And within the ghosts, lingering resentment and pain, she finally responded to the call. Beyond that call, something seized Kang Min-hee's mind, and from that moment onward, her memories became unclear. The call seized her soul, the flow of a being called Seo Whale invaded her, and the existence beyond the call descended through her body. After that, she lost consciousness. From then on, it was a time of endless torment. She was losing herself amidst the whispers and lingering resentment of the ghosts. And at some point, Kang Min-hee opened her eyes again. The moment she opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was Seo Eun-yeon, the man with whom she had once created moments of happiness. It seemed as though he was fighting against her. Scenes flickered and distorted. Kang Min-hee couldn't understand why she was fighting Seo Eun-yeon. She didn't want to fight. She didn't want to hurt him. Rather than tearing him apart with her hands, she only wanted to hold his hand. She didn't want to fight with him anymore. At this rate, it felt as if she might end up killing Seo Eun-yeon with her own hands. So, even in the midst of her muddled memories, Kang Min-hee begged. She begged the existence of the call. Please, I will give you anything. Just stop me from killing Seo Eun-yeon with these hands. A response comes from the call. It was a language incomprehensible to mortal beings. Yet Kang Min-hee could understand it, and she accepted the voice of the call. She didn't know the details, but she understood. Beyond the call, she had to entrust herself to the endless darkness, falling to a place where she could never see Seo Eun-yeon again, in order not to kill him with her own hands. To avoid destroying what was most precious to her with her own hands, she had to give up what was most precious. Kang Min-hee, faced with this miserable truth, at the cruel fate of this world, and at the pain of the countless lingering spirits who had died in this world, felt an overwhelming sorrow. Life is, she had said something, she cannot remember what it was. She only vaguely recalls expressing the emotion of sorrow. After speaking those words, Kang Min-hee's path was decided under the guidance of the call, and though following that path would mean she could never see Seo Eun-yeon again, she understood it would ensure that she would never kill him. That was Kang Min-hee's past. It was the ghosts, the various things related to me in the call. In other words, the whole of the underworld contributed to her madness. But now that the hole is sealed with the flawless mantra, the reason she still cannot regain her senses is because of the ghosts. It is because she absorbed the ghosts' powerful lingering resentment and pain into herself, becoming corrupted as a result. Let go, let go. Kang Min-hee's voice trembles. She is telling me to leave her and go. She seems afraid that I too might be eroded by the ghosts. For the grudges of the ghosts are by no means shallow. And, it is because Kang Min-hee is currently clutching the lingering resentment of the ghosts with her own hands that she has been unable to escape from the madness of the ghost-guiding Holy Mother. She must have thought she had to embrace them. She's always like that. Even though she appears cold and curt on the outside, the truth is that she's always been considerate of me at heart. It was the same during the Declaration of Human Rights soap incident. If she hadn't taken the lead back then, perhaps instead of the Declaration of Human Rights soap, we might have ended up creating a Communist Manifesto soap or some other absurd soap. After all, there was precedent for actually pushing forward the Communist Manifesto soap under the president's orders. Anyways, the important thing is not that. She is soft-hearted. She wants to embrace those who are pitiful. Even though she seems cold, her true nature is kind. That's probably why she cannot ignore the resentment of these ghosts. If that's the case, then what I need to do is squeeze. I grip Kang Min-hee's hand even tighter and begin moving forward. Kang Min-hee tries to shake off my hand, but I refuse to let go and continue moving ahead. Terrifying vengeful spirits appear before us. They are the aggregation of the resentments that Kang Min-hee is embracing, as well as what has been binding her. It's unfair. So unfair. We are indignant. So indignant. My baby, my baby, my baby. I want to live. I don't want to die. Where is this place? Mommy, mommy, please save me. Please save me. I don't want to become a pill. The heaven collapsing esteemed one will punish you. Just like what was done to us, the small green race, you will be boiled into soup and consumed. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. It hurts so much. Towards that accumulation of pain and suffering, I open my mouth. I cannot understand you all. How terrified must they have been? How horrifying, how agonizing must it have been? I do not dare judge by my own standards. No matter how much suffering I've endured in my life, if all my memories were erased right now, my strength taken away, and I was killed wretchedly, I, too, would probably harbor that kind of pain. I cannot recklessly claim to understand them. But I know a little about pain. I take another step forward, approaching the collective mass of resentment. Therefore, I can empathize with you. Come, Pot. The ghosts enter into my embrace. I use the vision of the Earth tribe to read their pasts and the vision of the Heart tribe to perceive the intent and heart essence they experienced in their pasts, embodying their pain and fear within myself. SSSSSSs. What is it that ghosts desire most? Because I myself am a great ghost, merely living because I cannot die. I know, to have their stories heard. It is to have their circumstances acknowledged by someone. I quietly listen to their suffering and empathize with them. Even without using any formulas or spells. The ghosts I empathize with turn pure white and fly off into the void. Come again. Keep coming. Come more. I call for the ghosts binding Kang Min-hee. At least tens of trillions. At most, tens of quadrillions of ghosts. Yet, I am not afraid. I take another step forward. One step, then another. In this way, I empathize with the suffering of the ghosts, embodying and acknowledging it within myself, all the while moving forward slowly. Kang Min-hee, being led by Seo Eun-yeon's hand, gazes at him. How can you do that? Just from accepting the resentment of a single ghost, it felt like she'd lose her mind from the pain. How can a human being possibly understand death? Can one truly comprehend the loss of their entire life being taken away by death? For that reason, it's impossible for Kang Min-hee to understand the ghosts who have experienced death. How can you acknowledge them and empathize with them? She cannot understand Seo Eun-yeon. Suddenly, something appears before her eyes. It is a series of scenes. It was the day she and Seo Eun-yeon first met. The days when they dated, spent time together, and eventually parted ways. The awkward days that followed. Seo Eun-yeon's memories. The ones involving her among Seo Eun-yeon's memories are naturally surfacing. Seo Eun-yeon is splitting apart. To accept even more of the vengeful spirits before him and to empathize with them, he is breaking apart. At least 10,000 fragments. Fragmented into 10,000 pieces, he is holding Kang Min-hee's hand and moving forward. From the cracks in Seo Eun-yun's fractured self, his memories are seeping into her. Within his memories, Kang Min-hee realizes for the first time that she is considered strong. And so, she gives a bitter smile. Single quote. Do you know, Seo Eun-yun? She looks at Seo Eun-yun's back. It's a back as big as a great mountain. The one who's truly strong is you. Seo Eun-yun, on her behalf, is empathizing with and comforting the vengeful spirits she harbored. But suddenly, a thought comes to her. If you're the one stepping forward to embrace everyone's sorrow, who will embrace yours? Then, from the state of merely being pulled along by Seo Eun-yun's hand, she takes steps on her own. Step 1 step. Forgotten memories return. 2 steps. They are memories from back then. The moment she lost Seo Eun-yun, and in her resolve to save him, when she felt sorrow. 3 steps. She remembers that within her own memories, she had sensed her essence. Within that essence, she saw something. It was something that resembled the Buddha statues she used to occasionally see near a temple when she was a child. Draped in a blue kasaya, seated on a blue lotus, and forming the hand seal known as the Abhayamudra, Shiwu Weiyin, a Buddhist Tangwa appeared before her. 4 steps. Kang Min-hee reached out toward the Tangwa and cried. She doesn't know why she was crying. But one thing she is certain of is, she understood the meaning of sorrow. 5 steps. Wo Wang. Light enters Kang Min-hee's eyes. When I think about it, you've led me in so much. Her first love, her first relationship, her first heartbreak. All of it, Seo Eun-yun led her through. Even now, he is leading her. I can't lead you. She is not strong enough to move forward without hesitation. Seo Eun-yun may think Kang Min-hee is fragile yet has strong responsibility, but Kang Min-hee believes Seo Eun-yun is much stronger than herself. 6 steps. Kang Min-hee stands almost side by side with Seo Eun-yun. She looks directly at the ghosts before her. But, I can protect you. The next moment, Kang Min-hee finally steps forward, moving just slightly ahead of Seo Eun-yun. 7 steps. I will protect you. Even if comforting you is left to that girl, just as you have led me, I will, with all my strength, protect you and everyone else. She cannot comfort Seo Eun-yun. She has known this ever since that day she touched the Tangwa of the Bodhisattva in the blue kasaya. She has already become someone who consoles others. Someone who provides solace for sorrow. Sorrow is about what is left behind. It is the longing for what has been left behind, the yearning and regret that arise in one's heart. Because what is left behind is usually something that can never be reached again. The ghosts left behind life. And even though Kang Min-hee broke up with Seo Eun-yun, she always left a place for him in her heart. But, Seo Eun-yun will never return to that place. To console sorrow means to understand what has been left behind and to let it go. I see. Kang Min-hee finally understands what the call did to her. The call turned Kang Min-hee into a nether crossing ship. The nether crossing ship stores ghosts, and during the end, escapes the sun and moon heavenly domain to allow the ghosts to peacefully cross over to the underworld. The role to send off ghosts so that they can find solace in the underworld. That is the hidden role of Black Ghost Valley and the true purpose of the nether crossing ship. Kang Min-hee looks at Seo Eun-yun. If I want to become more free, I'll have to let you go too, won't I? She now understands her own sorrow. The sorrow of leaving a place for Seo Eun-yun where Seo Eun-yun has left. That is her sorrow. To console that sorrow, she will have to let Seo Eun-yun go completely from her heart. But, I don't think I can let you go just yet. Therefore, Kang Min-hee decides to accept her sorrow for a little longer. However, this sorrow is different from the sorrow she has experienced so far. She completely accepts her sorrow. Letting it go from her heart entirely is a foregone conclusion. And letting go means building a wall between people. Kang Min-hee wants to protect Seo Eun-yun through that wall. Pawak. At that moment, her hair completely transforms into blue. From Kang Min-hee at the center, a blue light spreads outward, purifying the darkness. The lingering resentment of the ghosts is washed away all at once. Pasasik. At the same time, the charcoal mask on Seo Eun-yun shatters into pieces, fully revealing his face. Seo Eun-yun smiles faintly at Kang Min-hee. See, I told you I wouldn't die. Pasasasasa. Simultaneously, Seo Eun-yun's form, which had been shattered into 10,000 pieces, restores itself completely. Kugugugugu. Along with that, the three great ultimates begins to rise behind Seo Eun-yun. He empathized and read the histories of the ghosts within Kang Min-hee, acknowledging them. Through the advancement ritual of reading countless histories, Seo Eun-yun fulfilled the final condition for the advancement ritual of the Earth Tribe Sacred Vessel stage. Seo Eun-yun releases Kong Min-hee, who has escaped from the darkness, and steps forward. He walks towards the entering nirvana true person flying in from the distance. Kong Min-hee slightly reaches out her hand towards that Seo Eun-yun and recalls the past. After the day Seo Eun-yun brought Kong Min-hee home and suggested they try dating again for a while. The two dated again for about 3 days. Then, on the final day, they broke up. On the outdoor terrace smoking area of the company. There, Kong Min-hee smoked a cigarette while gazing at the sunset. Seo Eun-yun silently came to her side and stood there for a moment. After a brief silence, Kong Min-hee once again suggested breaking up with Seo Eun-yun. That's enough. Let's break up again. I've been consoled enough. Will you be okay? Yeah, more than me. It was because there was someone who could comfort Seo Eun-yun better than herself. Never mind. Even if I explain, you won't understand. Of course, Seo Eun-yun, who treats tact as if it's something to gulp down when hungry, didn't notice, but Kong Min-hee already realized. Kim Yeon would someday end up with Seo Eun-yun. And she would comfort and heal Seo Eun-yun far better than she could. Let me have one too, Kong Min-hee. You said you quit. I really feel like having one. It's the last one. Question mark. Didn't you just buy a pack? Shut up. I'm giving you one only because it's today. Give me a light too. She lit a flame. However, for some reason, the lighter didn't ignite. It hadn't been long since she bought it, but it seemed to be broken. Kong Min-hee removed the cigarette from her mouth and handed it to Seo Eun-yun. Seo Eun-yun brought the tip of the cigarette to the flame in Kong Min-hee's cigarette. Passing the flame she had been holding in her mouth, Kong Min-hee delivers her final words of goodbye. Farewell, ex-boyfriend. Seo Eun-yun, likewise, receives the flame for the last time and responds. Stay well, ex-girlfriend. Farewell. Kong Min-hee watches Seo Eun-yun, who is no longer within her reach, and gently clenches her fist. Seo Eun-yun has left Kong Min-hee. She knows he will not return. She lets him go. And now, she decides to watch over him from behind. From behind, or perhaps from ahead. She will not approach him again, but will simply watch over him. She will become Seo Eun-yun's wall. She will become a wall and silently protect him. Because that is her way of letting Seo Eun-yun go. That day, Kong Min-hee fully accepts the meaning of what she had realized before, that life is sorrow. Chapter 502, Half Immortal Real. The 3 great ultimates flow behind me. I feel a resonance forming between the 3 great ultimates and the wheel. This is something is drawing the two toward each other. Just in case, I try overlapping the wheel and the 3 great ultimates. It's at that moment, Pasasa, question mark. The wheel shatters, unable to withstand the amplification rate of the sacred vessel stage 3 great ultimates. Though it isn't easily broken by external pressure, it seems to be somewhat vulnerable to the internal pressure caused by the explosive forces within me. These two seem capable of overlapping, but, to make that possible, it seems I need to further perfect the wheel and deepen my understanding of the immortal art. It feels like there might be something incredible awaiting, but for now, it seems to be a card I can't play. Of course, it isn't a major issue. Badoodooduk, because I am already an erupting volcano myself. A quasi-immortal at the entering nirvana stage traverses thousands of light years and flies toward me. Then, they open their mouth wide and hurl another antimatter bomb at me. Shwa. I don't know the exact principle behind it, but it seems to be a secret art that transforms water attribute spells into antimatter at a subatomic level. Slowly, I grip the colorless glass sword in my hand. Before I had the 3 great ultimates, the existence before my eyes seemed difficult to handle. But now, it's different. I can handle this much. As the antimatter makes contact with the matter of the universe, it transforms the surroundings into chi, eroding the space around it with light. It's as if the primordial scene of creation is unfolding. The entire world is engulfed in light. I place the tip of my sword against the void and slice upward. Record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. Record of gazing cultivation and exceeding martial arts. Gazing cultivation and exceeding martial arts scripture. Secrets of gazing cultivation and exceeding martial arts. Record of surpassing cultivation and martial arts. Record of surpassing path and martial art. Entering heavens beyond the path martial arts. From that point on, the record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts of Kim Young-hoon and I that completely melted into the realm of entering heavens beyond the path. This peerless divine technique has only now, today, obtained a name beyond entering heavens beyond the path martial arts. In its earliest stage, record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts merely severed the opponent's intent yi and consciousness chi, erasing their perception of existence. Over 400,000 years, that record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts has, in my hands, evolved, and evolved, and evolved again. Now, it can not only hide myself but also conceal others, maintaining that state for up to 500 years. Thus, it is time to give it a new name. Hidden heavens beyond the path. Shukaik. Beyond the Tao, I shall conceal myself from the heavens. The tip of my sword scorches through the void. The next moment, pot. The antimatter explosion before me vanishes like an illusion in an instant between the quasi-immortal and me. What kind of sorcery is this? The quasi-immortal is momentarily taken aback. Jing. A terrifying shockwave is transmitted directly to the soul. I quickly use Mountain Echo's Valley response to unleash a sword cry that neutralizes the shockwave, protecting both myself and Kong Minhee behind me. However, the quasi-immortal, seemingly unable to adapt to the shockwave transmitted in the plane of soul, lets out a scream and howls madly. Through hidden heavens beyond the path, I elevated the recent explosion entirely to the plane of soul. The explosion occurred in the plane of soul, transformed from a material detonation into a shockwave that impacts the mind. Not just severing consciousness and hiding within perception, but cutting apart the very phenomenon of an opponent's attack, sending it to the plane of soul and erasing it from sight. No, it doesn't just stop at erasing. It transfers the phenomena itself into a battlefield advantageous to me. That is the vision of the repeatedly transcended record of transcending cultivation and exhausting martial arts. This is hidden heavens beyond the path. If it were Kim Young-hoon, he probably could have created hidden heavens beyond the path in about 6,000 years. He wouldn't have taken 400,000 years like me. It's when I'm gauging the power of hidden heavens beyond the path. The quasi-immortal glares at me and mutters. The three great ultimates behind your back, they are undoubtable proof that you have learned heaven, earth, and heart. I give a bitter smile. Just moments ago, this quasi-immortal, who had been casually firing antimatter bombs in an attempt to hunt me down, now has an entirely different gaze. It seems they finally regained some composure. The quasi-immortal glares at me and mutters. I will apologize. I was too rash. At those words, I let a slight look of joy to show on my face. If that's the case, then perhaps we can reconcile. But reconciliation is impossible. An enmity has already been born. How could I ascend to true immortality peacefully while having an unresolved enmity with an entity like you? I apologize for underestimating you. This immortal will crush you with my full strength. Goo. Up until just now, the quasi-immortal, who resembled nothing more than a large, foolish pigeon, begins to transform. The Pung form from earlier was merely a convenient mode for movement, and is this, their true combat technique form. Queric. The quasi-immortal's body transforms. Their avian form morphs into a beastman form. Yet their massive size remains unchanged, with an arm still large enough to cover an entire fixed star. Even though they take on a beastman form, the resemblance to a human is limited to their general frame. The overall appearance is anything but human. The quasi-immortal's face resembles a goblin, composed of black liquid and dark blue ice crystals. Their arms, still wings, now reveal each feather transformed into separate arms of black liquid, with each hand writhing with 11 fingers. Dozens of eye-like patterns, similar to those on my ghost face killing heaven for Nasir engraved all across their body, and their legs are obscured by a curtain formed of a black waterfall, obscuring them from view. The waterfall resembles a kind of skirt, and as it flows downward, it melts into the darkness of the universe, until their lower body appears entirely fused with the astral realm itself. Chi, I declare. The quasi-immortal begins to use its spell. O quickly spinning troubled star, Fanxing, come to this place. Chi. Space begins to distort. At the same time, a star appears above one of the arms of the quasi-immortal. Wing. The summoned star begins to rotate. However, the speed of its rotation is unusual. At first, it seems to rotate at a speed similar to that of a regular planet, but it gradually accelerates, spinning over 60 times per second. Yet it does not stop there. The rotational speed increases even further. I declare, let the troubled star summon a storm. Goo. An interstellar wind sweeps through the cosmic space. This is not an interstellar wind like before, which could be resisted to some degree. This is truly a terrifying cosmic gale that sweeps me away, hurling me towards a distant star system. Chi-chi-chi-chi-ching. Once more, space warps, and the quasi-immortal leaps through the space to follow me. Holding the frantically spinning star in their hand, they continue speaking. I declare, let the stars of the nations listen. Wu Wang. At the quasi-immortal's words, all the starlight shining upon this place begins to hum in response. I feel the stars of the star veins resonating, and an overwhelming sense of foreboding rises within me. Create a fence from which the foe before me cannot escape. Weave a net with starlight so they lose their way forward. I can feel it. The star veins entwine, sealing a distance of several hundred light years. A barrier is formed, ensuring neither I cannot escape the battlefield between the quasi-immortal and I. I declare, O path of starlight, do not bestow the heavens' attraction force upon my adversary. O vibration of stars, do not grant the earth's resonance to my foe. Clang. The laws within the barrier shift. At the same time, I feel a sensation of darkness overtaking my vision. The heaven tribe's sight and the earth tribe's sight have been sealed. The vision tied to both is blacked out. The constellations no longer allow me to read the future or the past. It seems the quasi-immortal cannot interfere with the heart tribe's vision, but it feels as though my perceptual faculties have been divided. I declare, O troubled star, twist this immortal's bridle and seize the 5 elements. Kuguguguguk. It doesn't end there. The star in their hand appears to spin even faster, causing the nearby 5 elements to transform. Astounding. The 5 elements converge into one, and all attributes are transformed into the water attribute. In a remote corner of the universe. Though this twisting of laws is limited to within this barrier, even that is an overwhelming miracle. Nearby fixed stars extinguish, ignoring the laws of physics, and turn into frozen masses of ice. All the planets in the vicinity either become engulfed in water or plunge into an ice age. Now, shall we begin? The quasi-immortal looks at me. They seem fully prepared to fight me. I look up at them. Forming a hand seal, I draw forth one of the 2 forms of the crystal glass to treading sea great star that I had yet to reveal. Crystal glass to treading sea great star. Torch of myriad forms and connections. Wan zhuang yin yuan dang. My body becomes a torch, and my glass true fire becomes its flame. Around the flame, akin to candlelight, my canvas of myriad forms and connections unfolds. Perhaps, in the quasi-immortal's eyes, I appear as a mass of hazy mist. Though the vision of the heaven and earth tribes may have vanished, the authority remains intact. Therefore, the 3 great ultimates are still present. Warururuk. I amplify the glass true fire, again and again. With the 3 great ultimates behind my back in the hazy mist, I begin flying towards quasi-immortal. The 2 cosmic entities collide. The entering nirvana quasi-immortal holds the spinning star in their hand and shouts. O troubled star, hear me. Twist the water of the 5 elements and reverse it with the power of darkness and hay. Kugugugugu. The star system, once overflowing with water energy, transforms into antimatter and begins to explode. However, quasi-immortal's incantation does not end there. It's as if they anticipate that such an attack would have no effect on the foe before them. Troubled star, heed my command. Whisper the curse with 1,000 mouths. Let this immortal's authority echo and manifest throughout the entire world. An orbit forms around the troubled star. It is an orbit created from attraction force and rotation. The orbit gradually expands, quickly engulfing the surrounding star system and reaches the edges of the barrier quasi-immortal has erected. Soon, whispers begin emanating from the orbit. Attraction force reversal, gravitational concentration, collapse of the 5 elements. Antimatter waterfall, summoning supernova explosion, spatial waterways, wrath of water, night of winter, twilight of frozen earth, world of extreme cold, within what living creatures might call a moment. Thousands of spells and incantations are activated. Each one is a grand spell capable of annihilating an entire world or civilization. Attraction force reverses. At the same time, to Xiao Unyun's left, gravity concentrates, creating a terrifying repulsion force. The 5 elements collapse, shaking Xiao Unyun's physical body. An antimatter waterfall materializes. A supernova, on the verge of explosion, is summoned to block Xiao Unyun's path. A waterway connecting one space to another emerges, allowing the water of a distant supermassive planet's ocean to flow in. The water, heeding its master's command, erupts in fury and clings to Xiao Unyun. Meanwhile, the black water surrounding the quasi-immortal condenses, forming a knight-like figure that radiates boundless cold. The planet-sized knight wields a spear and charges towards Seo Eun-yun. The moment Seo Eun-yun and the knight collide, a blinding light bursts forth, followed by an explosion. After the explosion, the entire surrounding space is dyed in extreme cold, rendering movement impossible according to laws of physics. However, Seo Eun-yun continues to move. Kugugugugugu. This immortal bestows upon thee a minor misfortune. You shall never reach this immortal. The space between the quasi-immortal and Seo Eun-yun layers itself. While the distance appears close at a glance, Seo Eun-yun is actually subjected to an immense distance. Yet, Seo Eun-yun advances. I declare to the troubled star, O troubled star, summon this immortal's influence amidst the interstellar wind. Do. Interstellar wind sweeps through, distorting the space. And, amidst the distorted space, two beings at the sacred vessel stage descend. Immortal treasure, cutting river fan Kai Shan come to this immortal's hand. Immortal treasure, red flood dragon plaque Kai Jiao Pai respond to this immortal's call. A pitch black sea that scatters sharp energy. A colossal fan, formed from that black sea, is grasped in the quasi-immortal's hand. A writhing plaque, crafted from what seems to be the flesh of some creature and adorned with the image of a red flood dragon, floats above the quasi-immortal's head. However, the immortal treasures resist the will of the quasi-immortal, thrashing as if unwilling to obey. The quasi-immortal roars in fury and suppresses the two immortal treasures with attraction force. Do not resist. I declare this. Let the immortal treasures, intellect be temporarily relinquished. Kurururuing. A sound akin to thunder reverberates, and the two immortal treasures fall silent. Yet, controlling the treasures seems to have drained the quasi-immortal considerably as its arms tremble faintly. The quasi-immortal swings the cutting river fan. Weo. Interstellar wind begins to rage wildly. But that is not all. Within the storm of interstellar wind, hundreds of slashes at the same level of the spells that bombarded Seo Eun-yun emerge and surge toward him. However, in the center of the hazy mist, where the flames of glass burn brightly, the fire morphs into a sword-like shape, deflecting and repelling all the incoming slashes. Quagwagwong. Each slash that collides with the fire unleashes terrifying interstellar winds that shake the surrounding nebulae. From the red flood dragon plaque comes what sounds like the roar of a red flood dragon, and the black water surrounding Seo Eun-yun turns red, transforming into a red tide that encircles and dissolves him. Then, Kwang. A glass-colored flame explodes, and a glass candle bursts forth from within the red tide, piercing through the distortion of space and advancing towards the quasi-immortal. Finally, Kwagggg. Seo Eun-yun reaches the hem of the quasi-immortal's skirt. The edge of the waterfall. Seo Eun-yun wraps around the quasi-immortal and begins moving up. Along his path, the hazy mist from the canvas of myriad forms and connections lingers like a trail, gradually entwining around the quasi-immortal's body. The scene resembles a hazy dragon with a head shaped like a candle, coiling around a giant god. Quorararik. From the quasi-immortal's body, tens of thousands of hands of darkness erupt, attempting to push the dragon away. But the dragon does not release its hold, continuing to coil upwards. Once the dragon fully coils around the quasi-immortal, it becomes difficult for the quasi-immortal to attack with the immortal treasures. Instead of panicking, the quasi-immortal raises the revolving star they summoned further into the sky. I declare this, O river of black water, transform into a river whip and come to this hand. Quorararik. The accumulated water energy in the star system condenses, forming a massive river of black water. The river flows into the quasi-immortal's grasp in an instant, transforming into a black whip. I declare to the troubled star, bestow thy condemnation upon the adversary. Quack. The giant god swings the black whip towards the revolving star. The star, called the troubled star, trembles violently upon being struck by the whip of Black River. Seo Eun-yun's body also shakes, as though struck by the whip. The quasi-immortal begins lashing the troubled star. Kwagggg. The body of the star begins to be torn apart. At the same time, the head of the dragon, the candle. Seo Eun-yun's main body begins to be gradually torn apart. The curse of a quasi-immortal. Quack, quack. However, it's when the quasi-immortal continues to lash the star. Quorararik. The star begins to gradually darken, dying black. The dragon's head, from the place resembling a candle flame bursts forth a pitch-black flame. You reversed the curse. Terrifying one, what pain have you endured to overturn the curse of a true person with your weight class alone? Gradually, as Seo Eun-yun's main body, the dragon's head, climbs higher and higher towards the head of the giant god, the quasi-immortal begins to grow visibly impatient. Even antimatter is ineffective. Even the thousands of spells cast simultaneously are ignored as he continues to advance. Attacks using immortal treasures are deflected and he draws closer. Even their curse is overturned by the weight class of his own curse and swallowed instead. This monstrous being, wasn't Vast Cold said to be at this level in their youth? If I let him go, he will undoubtedly become a vicious villain like Golden Divine and exact merciless revenge upon us. The quasi-immortal's eyes burn with ferocity. A grim resolve to deal with Seo Eun-yun here and now through whatever means is etched onto the quasi-immortal's face. Juk, the dragon with a head like a candle. The monster known as Candle Dragon opens its mouth. At the center of that mouth, Seo Eun-yun, with the three great ultimates on his back and spewing glass true fire, meets the gaze of the entering nirvana true person. Keying, the quasi-immortal feels a chill run through their entire body. It wasn't merely climbing up their body. It wasn't just climbing. He has hidden himself with that candle, endlessly performing a sword dance all the way to this point. The eyes of Seo Eun-yun, who elevated himself to the true immortal domain through the sword dance, now burns incandescently white. The quasi-immortal feels their entire being blaring with a sense of crisis. Ominous. If that strikes directly, even this immortal will suffer a fatal wound. If so, I must counter it. Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. 33rd Stance. Sumeru. However, there is something they didn't anticipate. That is, every form of Severing Mountain Swordsmanship can naturally connect to another. At the climax of the Sumeru sword dance, which borrows the power of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain, Seo Eun-yun transitions into the stance of the next move. The ideal of the thrust that reached the ultimate. And at its tip, the power of death. Severing Mountain Swordsmanship. 34th Stance. Kunlun. The chain technique of Sumeru Kunlun unfolds right before the quasi-immortal's eyes. In that instant, the quasi-immortal tries to escape, either by cutting through the hazy mist binding them or by shrinking their body. But escape is impossible. It is as though thousands, hundreds of millions, quadrillions of people are clutching their body in countless places, refusing to allow any transformation or flight. There is no escape. Bound and sealed, there is no way to evade. Then, what remains is to strike back. A terrifying authority emanates from the quasi-immortal's head that resembles a goblin. In that brief moment, even Seo Eun-yun feels his legs weaken. At the same time, the entirety of the quasi-immortal's body, which Seo Eun-yun is holding, seems to reverse itself. The quasi-immortal's colossal body undergoes complete antimatter transformation, a spell in which they momentarily detonate their cultivation, transforming their entire body into antimatter to induce mutual annihilation. Because their body itself has been turned into antimatter, it can no longer be nullified by Seo Eun-yun elevating it to the plane of soul as he had done just moments earlier. The equivalent of 3 stars worth of antimatter explodes, and within that explosion, a thrust resembling a black line pierces through the center of the blast. Like so, a small stellar system, where intelligent life has not yet emerged, becomes buried in light and disappears entirely. Looking at the smoke emanating from my body, I glance back. Behind me, the entire stellar system where we had just been fighting moments ago. No, an area far larger than that is engulfed completely in light. I almost died. I click my tongue. Had the chain technique of Sumeru Kunlun been even slightly delayed, I would have probably died right there. To be precise, my cultivation would have fallen to the star-shattering stage, and I would have revived, but standing in front of a quasi-immortal with star-shattering stage cultivation is the same as dying. Amidst a field of planet-sized asteroids, I sit down on a suitable meteor. Thanks to the perfectly executed chain technique of Sumeru Kunlun, I managed to pierce straight through the quasi-immortal's center and escaped with nothing but a slightly scorched body as my only injury. I wonder what happened. I don't believe that the last strike had killed the quasi-immortal. The life force of an entering nirvana true person is immense to the point that it transcends imagination. Just as I am thinking of this, Udududuk. Space distorts as if being crumpled, and someone appears. It is an entering nirvana quasi-immortal with smoke rising from its entire body. They still have that goblin-like face, wings transformed into arms, and the waterfall-like skirt. However, their size is now closer to my own, resembling that of a regular human. The being glares at me. What sorcery have you performed? I cannot use my cultivation. I smile faintly without saying a word. The power of Sumeru Kunlun has struck its mark. Through the power of pure death, a pin-sized hole has been pierced in the quasi-immortal soul, leading directly to the domain of pure death. The natural restorative forces of the world will eventually seal the hole, and their cultivation will return on its own. But for now, no matter what they do, they will be unable to use their cultivation. Speak. What must be done to restore my cultivation? You will not answer. Then, the quasi-immortal glares at me and stretches out one hand in my direction. I have no choice but to subdue you in close combat. I tense up and raise the three great ultimates once more. The physical ability of an entering nirvana true person, just how strong is it? The next moment, the quasi-immortal's body reaches me as if folding through space. Though they lost their cultivation, they seem capable of manipulating a slight amount of attraction force. In an instant, they use the ground shrinking technique to close the distance and thrusts their fist. Quagwagwagwong. The planet-sized meteor shatters completely. This is entering nirvana. A simple punch, without any cultivation, chi, attraction force, or martial technique, is enough to destroy a planet. Considering that even star-shattering esteemed ones would need to use techniques or skills, or authorities, to destroy a planet, the power of a quasi-immortal is truly absurd. Wing. Drawing volcanic energy from the three great ultimates behind me, I lock eyes with the quasi-immortal who can't use their cultivation. The next moment, we collide once again. Jiang. Kicking off a meteor fragment, they fly towards me with an outstretched hand. Activating my sword sea-star body, I extend my sword fused with my hand, deflecting their punch before stepping in and driving my knee into their solar plexus. Zheng. A meteor behind the quasi-immortal shatters completely from the shockwave of my strike to their solar plexus. But as if unfazed, they adjust their posture, twist their body, and escape from my grasp. I take a step back and execute a cross slash before reaching towards the horn on the goblin-like face to grab it. Clench. Gripping tightly to prevent their escape, I start swinging the quasi-immortal's body violently. Quang. I slam their body into the meteor floor, repeating the motion until the meteor shatters completely. Boang. Talk. The quasi-immortal's arms grab mine, using a precise counterforce to break free of my hold. It seems they haven't wasted their hundreds of thousands of years of age. Displaying a familiarity with close combat, the quasi-immortal grabs my arm with their left hand and punches towards my solar plexus with their other fist. Quang. A meteor behind me shatters. However, I show no sign of pain and immediately lunge forward to headbutt them. The quasi-immortal, as if to accept the challenge, meets my headbutt head-on. Quang. The shockwave erupting between us shakes the very space around us, shattering several nearby meteors. Thus, the real battle between me and them begins. Even though it's close combat, the entering nirvana true person is indeed strong. Even when I wield the formless all-heaven sword to control thousands of trajectories and press them, they use the sheer mass and force of their physical body to close in and deliver strikes against me. Drawing forth power from the three great ultimates, I relentlessly press the quasi-immortal who cannot use their cultivation. Slash, strike, hit, grab, and swing again. How long have I been pressing the quasi-immortal? At last, Pasasic. My fist slams into the quasi-immortal's face. The area where my fist strikes is deeply gouged, breaking apart their face. The goblin-like face shatters, revealing the face in a transformation state. TL. Transformation state referring to the appearance of demon beasts who can transform into humans during the nascent soul, aka, transformation stage. The gloomy visage of a woman glares at me with clenched lips. I smirk and unleash a flurry of attacks on her face like crazy. Victory begins to tilt in my favor. Bit by bit, her combat technique form breaks down, revealing the ordinary body of her transformation state. And finally, the move of severing mounting bursts forth, and simultaneously, her body pierces through 3 meteors before being flung out of the asteroid field entirely. Pasasic. Her combat technique form shatters completely. Pawak. I follow her through the asteroid field, grab her by the hair, and soar towards a nearby planet, smashing her face directly into its surface. Quagwagwagwan. The surface of the planet, filled with poisonous clouds, quakes violently. Descending into the planet's outer core, I stomp down on the transformation state's skull belonging to the entering nirvana true immortal who has expended all of her energy. Keying. The power of the 3 great ultimates begins to wane slightly. For the 3 great ultimates that amplifies power to near infinity to fade, it means the energy expended is beyond imagination. The expenditure was monumental. However, at long last, I took down a true person. I won. I defeated an entering nirvana true person. Not only that, but I also captured a hostage, one of the true persons suspected to have formed a direct contract with Blood Yin. This is the extent of my current strength. Clap, 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 clap. Suddenly, the sound of applause echoes from behind me. Quote. Exclamation mark quote. Startled by the sudden noise, I whip around. There, I see a man clad in a purple gold robe with jet black hair cascading down his back, clapping his hands. Possessing reddish purple eyes, he licks his lips with his tongue and speaks. Impressive. It doesn't seem like it's been long since you reached the sacred vessel stage, yet to have already taken down a quasi-immortal. Truly, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call this the half-immortal realm. Gripping the limp head of the utterly exhausted quasi-immortal, I ask him a question. Who is the distinguished one? At my words, the man in the purple gold robe steps closer and responds. Sacred Master of the Purple Gold Realm, Banta. Clench. He stretches out his hand for a handshake, grinning as he does so. It seems to be the greeting custom of the Purple Gold domain. Congratulations on rising to the sacred vessel stage. Until recently, you were merely an esteemed one, weren't you? A remarkable figure deserving of being called a half-immortal, is worthy of visiting Banta Castle of the Purple Gold Realm. That's why I have come personally. Clench. Still gripping my wrist, he begins to apply strong pressure for some reason. Will you accept that invitation? 503. Banta Castle. I heard that the sacred master of the Purple Gold Realm resides in a place called Banta Castle. It seems he is inviting me to congratulate me on reaching the sacred vessel stage. It'd be good to go at least once. As I briefly deliberate while looking at the oddly glimmering eyes of Banta, I suddenly recall something. Ah, sacred master, please wait a moment. I try to withdraw my hand from Banta's handshake. For some reason, he seems to have a habit of holding handshakes for a long time, gripping tightly and reluctant to let go. However, when I pull out the split soul of Blood Yin that I am holding in one hand, he finally lets go. That is, it's the split soul of Blood Yin. The very thing embedded in the heavenly lotus fruit. Just now, through Kong Min Hee, I briefly gazed into the underworld. Thanks to that, I successfully fulfilled every fate that Blood Yin bestowed in a simplified manner. Thus, the absolute nature of Blood Yin's fate has now been fulfilled. Only one task remains. Wo Wang. I raise the split soul of Blood Yin, concentrating attraction force. I can feel it. Wo Wang. In a far-off corner of the universe, there is a star. It is a star connected to the split soul of Blood Yin through attraction force. That star is also connected to me through attraction force. I quickly announce before the star. I, Xiao Unyun, have reunited with Blood Yin within 100 years and experienced death due to Blood Yin. A simplified 7 stars ritual. However, unlike the 7 stars ritual, which seeks approval from the heavens to continue cultivation, this is an act proclaiming to the heavens that I have fulfilled my fate. That star is a star created by Blood Yin. Just as the entering nirvana true persons collectively created a star and imposed fate upon me, Blood Yin also created a star and endowed me with that prophecy. Ding! With the echo of a Brahma bell reverberating from the depths of the universe, I perceive that I have at last succeeded in breaking free from the star's attraction force. I've deceived fate. Pot. Along with that, I crush the split soul of Blood Yin, which is no longer needed. I hope we never meet again, Blood Yin. Thinking of the main body connected to this split soul, I let out a single remark towards Blood Yin's split soul. A powerful curse or misfortune of true immortal level could be unleashed, so I should prepare. But it doesn't matter. Fate of the same kind develop resistance, so I no longer need to suffer under the absoluteness as before. In other words, the fate of Blood Yin seeking reunion with me is much harder to realize. Still, I must remain cautious, as Blood Yin can directly invoke misfortune on me. It's at that moment, single quote question mark single quote. The split soul of Blood Yin unexpectedly disperses into the void without any resistance. Somehow, I feel Blood Yin's gaze through the dissipating split soul. For some reason, within that gaze, I feel no anger mixed in. Why, shouldn't he be flying into a rage? Perhaps my confrontation with the Yama True Lord unexpectedly worked to my benefit. The interdimensional void. In that void beyond the astral realm, Blood Yin is burning in flames. Scarlet flames engulf his entire body, delivering a pain that affects even true immortals. However, Blood Yin does not resist the pain. He remains still, quietly experiencing the torment. The scarlet flames. Different from the karmic fire he had once wielded, these flames were given to him just moments ago by the Yama True Lord when he briefly glimpsed the underworld while following Seo Unyun. Yet, rather than seething with anger at Yama True Lord's actions or writhing in agony, Blood Yin seems to be lost in thought. Could this immortal have been mistaken? He gazes at a section of the interdimensional void. It is the place where the bright cold realm resides. Could it be that he wasn't a spy of light? How could that be? If he wasn't a spy of light, how did he fulfill the summoning conditions for the Radiance 8 immortals? Blood Yin murmurs bitterly. Without a devout faith in light, the conditions could never be satisfied. How? Did the Imperial Venerable know of this, or did they not? Is all I can do only to silently hold my breath in the sun and moon heavenly domain while that insidious light takes action? After mumbling to himself for a while, Blood Yin lets out a small sigh and surrenders his body to the pain of the scarlet flames. Blood Yin resolves to lay low for some time within the grand scheme of the giants. However, he decides to continue to observe Seo Unyun. Blood Yin. The light he knows of is a being so insidious it defies imagination. It might very well be a plot to reach the depths of the underworld through Seo Unyun. Blood Yin's gaze lingers until the split soul completely dissipates, then it disconnects. Yet I believe that Blood Yin is still watching me. Though it doesn't show in the celestial energy, the actions of true immortals are inherently beyond the comprehension of mortal eyes, so such readings are meaningless. Single quote. Anyway, for now, I've fended off Blood Yin's devilish grasp. Of course, I'm still a little concerned about the remaining entering nirvana true persons, but I could retreat into a middle realm or seek help from those like Jin Lugok in the path of stars to solve the problem. Now, what remains is the end, and the events that will unfold after Hun Wan dies. The chain reactions caused by Hun Wan's death, which I learned about when I became the annihilation flower of the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable. To prevent those, Hun Wan cannot be allowed to die. And finally, Seo Weol. I must confirm and suppress Seo Weol's movements. I recall the Seo Weol, who had become a blue earthworm at the end of my previous life. Has Seo Weol in this life also become a blue earthworm? He'll probably be fine this time around. The final moments of my past life. The reversal of the white wheel shown by the oldest one. When that reversal began, my regression started, and the 3 seats shrouded in darkness began to radiate light once more. In a sense, the fact that the Great Mountain Supreme Deity and the other governing immortals safely returned alive through regression could also be interpreted as part of the oldest one's arrangement. Because of that, I believe Seo Weol has also returned due to the reversal of the wheel. The goals of this life are survival through the end, the absolute prevention of the chain reaction starting from Hun Wan's death, and the complete control of Seo Weol. I'll think of it like this for now. On top of that, it would be ideal to raise my cultivation realm as much as possible. I must begin the sacred vessel stage cultivation, and as for the entering nirvana stage advancement ritual, if luck permits, I might be able to achieve it within this lifetime. The entering nirvana stage advancement is relatively lenient, so even someone as untalented as me doesn't need to worry about failing to reach that stage. The real problem is the true immortal advancement ritual. Well, advancing to true immortal is still a somewhat distant goal for now, so let's put it aside for the moment. In any case, I decide to set my goal in this life to also reach the pinnacle of void shattering and achieve the grand perfection sacred vessel stage. Having set all of my goals for this life, I turn to Banta and say, the urgent matters are over now. Oh, then, and I have something to give you. Something to give me. I rummage through my domain and retrieve an item I had stored there in my past life. As soon as he confirms it, Banta's eyes widen in astonishment. Wo Wang, in my past life, I hadn't had the chance to examine it properly, but looking at it again now, it's incredibly beautiful. It's a purple steel about the size of a single sheet of paper. However, it gives the impression that it was heavily compressed from something far larger and, once released, its size would easily expand to span 10 li, perhaps even 100 li. Large characters are engraved on the purple steel, and I recognize that they are names written in ancient language. Radiance Hall Guang Ming Dian, fallen guiding envoy of the final age of Dharma Duo Dao Mo Fa Shi J. Seat holder of wealth Fu Yu Zuo Zhu. Purple Gold Heavenly Lord Zi Jin Tian Jun. Hu Kem He and Black Hermitage. Radiance Hall. From the various accounts I had heard, it seems that the Purple Gold Heavenly Lord was secretly an infiltrator planted by the underworld in the forces of light. Hence, why their position was also recorded to belong to Radiance Hall. Wu Wang. As soon as I look at the name, my head begins to spin, and I glimpse what seems to be a small hermitage shimmering before my eyes. Beyond the hermitage, I can faintly make out a figure cloaked in shadows. However, the vision does not go beyond that. A black hermitage, could this be related to the essence of the purple gold heavenly lord? Shaking my head, I dispel the influence of the purple gold heavenly lord and promptly take out other items. Familiar names appear before me. Chief Judge of the Netherworld. Seat holder of good and evil, Nether Devil True Lord Yu Hao Te. Deputy Judge of the Netherworld. Seat holder of health, Ancient Force True Lord Hainyang. Reincarnation Judge of the Netherworld. Seat holder of longevity, Nether Ghost True Lord Yu Su Ryan. And finally, seat holder of End Zhang Ming Zuo Zhu. Vast Cold Heavenly Lord Guang Han Tian Jun. These are the true names and positions of the legendary 5 Blessings Immortals Wu Fu Xian. I can feel the immense waves of power emanating from these inscriptions. These are the symbols of the 5 middle realms. As I stare blankly at the symbols for some time, I suddenly realize the nature of these spells. The power radiating from those names are so overwhelming that I didn't notice it at first, but the material of these spells is something I am very familiar with. Salt crystals. To my astonishment, all of these steels are made of salt crystals. Wo Wang. However, unlike ordinary salt crystals, which return to the ancient force realm when used, these salt crystals seem to be directly connected to their respective middle realms, allowing them to return there. These aren't just ordinary salt crystals. Generally, the energy of the ancient force realm condenses into ancient stones, which then gather and transform into supervisory jades. These supervisory jades, when compressed by the thousands, further transform into salt crystals. However, the symbols of each middle realm are not mere salt crystals. They exude a wave of salt crystal energy, as if they are composed of hundreds of millions of such salt crystals combined. With this, it wouldn't just allow me to descend my consciousness to the lower realms or reflect the places I've been through like the supervisory mirror. I could open and close gates to any of the middle realms at any time, anywhere. After staring at the symbols for a moment, I focus on the symbol of the purple gold realm. Using attraction force, I move the steel inscribed with the true name of the purple gold heavenly lord towards Banta. As the end will soon come, this junior, CEO, presents the symbol of the purple gold realm to senior Banta. Banta, who had been staring blankly at the symbol of the purple gold realm for a moment, runs his hand over the steel. Then, with a trembling voice, he says, "You are truly remarkable. It's too high of a praise. This is no exaggeration. You are truly remarkable, unlike the parasites of the purple gold realm. Ha 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 ha. You have a sense of responsibility, and your face has a likable appearance that will garner favor from the mass as well. You are perfect for governance. I am ashamed. As a junior, I am far from qualified to be a leader." I shake my head, and Banta looks at me with widely flickering eyes for some reason. "Far from qualified, you say? You're even modest. How could there be someone this perfect? Heh. As a senior, I am truly satisfied." With wildly flickering eyes, he approached me and grabs my hand with both of his. "Truly, I want to invite you. If you were to visit Banta Castle, I'd even be willing to rename it Unyun Castle for the day of your visit. I deeply appreciate your kindness, but will you come now? I have a matter I need to attend to." After asking for Banta's understanding, I managed to slip away from his strangely firmer grip and head towards Kong Minhee. I temporarily left her behind in a nebula while fighting the entering Nirvana quasi-immortal. At a distant corner of a nebula. There, I reunite with her as she sits among spirits that have turned light blue, waiting for me. Her hair has turned blue, and she wears a robe mixed with blue and black. Unlike before, when her hair had been disheveled, it is now neatly arranged, reaching down to her waist. Though her face shows a hint of fatigue, she looks much cleaner than before. Kong Minhee's gaze meets mine. "I told you not to come, didn't I? I said you could die. Anyway, you never listen. Well, I didn't die, didn't I? In the end, next time, I won't let you pull a stunt like this." "Got it." I chuckle and nod my head. "Do as you please, Taoist Kong." And, at my following words, Kong Minhee lets out a faint smile. "Welcome back, Kong Minhee." Yes, Seo Unyun. I approach Kong Minhee and hug her once. After 999 lives, I have finally succeeded in rescuing Kong Minhee from the ghost guiding Holy Mother. That's enough. Kong Minhee, who is hugged by me for a moment, pushes me away before clearing her throat as she avoids my gaze. All the other comrades have been gathered, right? Where are the others? They're inside me. Quote. What? It was a dangerous situation. If they had stayed where they were, they would have all withered away and died. So, without a choice, I temporarily relocated them. It was a bit abrupt, but I think they'll understand. What do you? I'm not trying to make excuses, but I received a prophecy from some immense being. And to escape that fate and prophecy, I had no choice but to make this decision. To be honest, I think the others are more comfortable being inside me. I explained the situation to Kong Minhee in detail. After a while, Kong Minhee fully understands the situation, and perhaps having initially misunderstood something, she slaps my shoulder, saying, "You scared me, you glutton." Haha, so, you want to meet them? Quote. Yeah, it's been a while. I should see their faces. So much has happened since then. Alright, then, I open the colorless sword enclosure and move Kong Minhee inside, then send an incarnation into the enclosure. From the perspective of my comrades, they were suddenly abducted from the world of Penglai Island into the world inside my body, only to see Kong Minhee a few days later. Everyone except Jeon Myung-hoon looks very surprised. No, what? You've reached the sacred vessel stage. Starting with Oh Yun-sok. Your presence has sharpened significantly. What did you see? Kim Young-hoon, stirred by the presence I gained from obtaining Kunlun. Kim Yeon, still incomprehensible as ever. Quote. Don't worry, I've always trusted you. But, suddenly reaching the sacred vessel stage, I'm a bit overwhelmed wondering just what you've been doing, but I'm sure you handled it well. Jeon Myung-hoon, giving a trusting smile. There is no one who isn't surprised. Kong Minhee also seems shocked by the state of our comrades. Quote. Director, Kim Young-hoon, what on earth happened to your hair? Ha 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 ha, ooh ha 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 ha, it's good to see you, Deputy Kong. Kim Yeon, what's going on with you? Quote. Kim Young-hoon's hair has undergone a drastic transformation, and Kim Yeon has become mute. But what surprises Kong Minhee the most is something else. It's been a while, Kong Minhee. It's Jeon Myung-hoon. He approaches Kong Minhee while stroking So-hae's hand, and calmly offers both a greeting and an apology. I'm sorry for the past. I've done many things that wronged you. There are some things I can't say here, but, if it's you, I trust you know what I mean. Back then, I was too young to distinguish right from wrong. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope that, as comrades facing this world together from now on, we won't have to feel uncomfortable. Quote. Hearing this, Kong Minhee stares at Jeon Myung-hoon, her mouth slightly agape, and rubs her eyes. Quote. You're not possessed by a ghost, are you? Just happened to you, Jeon Myung-hoon. Quote. It's a long story. I'll tell you later. He gives a bitter smile as he continues to stroke Jin So-hae's hand. Kong Minhee also gives a bitter smile. Quote. It seems everyone has been through a lot. She, together with the other comrades, as if overwhelmed with emotions after reuniting after so long, holds the hands of Kim Yeon and Jeon Myung-hoon and lowers her head briefly. Quote. Still, I'm glad everyone is safe. We all hug Kong Minhee tightly. There must be a lot to talk about. Let's go inside and share a conversation for a bit. Snap, I create a house out of crystal within the colorless sword enclosure and send my comrades inside. There is much to discuss, starting from our entry to Penglai Island. Seo Ran and Shiho enter, and I prepare to send in Hong Fan last. At that moment, Hong Fan approaches me with a question. Master. Oh, what is it, Hong Fan? You've acquired a new immortal art. You've noticed. In real time, the only instances when I used the immortal art of the wheel were once briefly in front of Blood Yin, once for a moment before the true persons, and once again in front of the Yama True Lord. For him to notice that I acquired a new immortal art based on those brief displays, it truly feels like Hong Fan. That's right, I've obtained a new immortal art. Who is the one who passed on that immortal art? For some reason, Hong Fan is wearing an expression almost devoid of emotion, with a rather businesslike and emotionless face. However, because I'm unsure how to respond, I clear my throat. I can't exactly say I acquired it while helping Kong Minhee's sacred vessel advancement ritual in a past cycle. Clearing my throat again, I reply. It's a bit difficult to explain, so, you know how there are things that one shouldn't even mention. Quote. I am curious about this immortal art as well. Would it be possible for Master to teach it to me? That might be a little difficult. I can feel it. If I were to recklessly pass on this wheel immortal art, there's a high chance it would provoke interference from either the Yama True Lord or the underworld. Just as the Great Mountain Supreme Deity descended at the end of a previous cycle because I recklessly used the Great Mountain Splitting Emperor technique. I have a familiar feeling with this wheel. What's certain is that I mustn't carelessly spread it. Quote. At my response, Hong Fan looks at me for a moment. It gives me a yearning feeling. For some reason, this immortal art truly feels yearnful. The gaze in Hong Fan's eyes as he says this is, how should I say it? It resembles his gaze when he first saw Tae Yal Jaeon as a nun. Chapter 504. Yearned for reunion too. Quote. What's going on? By any chance, have you remembered your past life? Quote. That's not it, but it feels like something is about to emerge. His expression shows he is feeling somewhat nostalgic. Perhaps this wheel is really connected to Hong Fan's past life. Should I tell Hong Fan? Maybe letting Hong Fan know could help. But after some deliberation, I shake my head. Quote. I'm sorry, but this, I can't tell you. The memory of that incident with the Wuji religious order still lingers in my mind. I cannot carelessly reveal anything, especially matters concerning those of higher rank. Quote. I see, I understand. Hong Fan maintains that nostalgic expression for a moment before breaking into a wide smile. Quote. I apologize. What I originally wanted to say was, it's nothing significant, but I just wanted to offer my congratulations. It seems I ended up unnecessarily troubling Master. Anyway, congratulations on obtaining a new power, Master. Haha, thank you. Well, that makes sense. Starting from the matter with Blood Yin to everything else, it must have all felt sudden and overwhelming from the perspectives of others. I explain the matter regarding Blood Yin, the pursuit of the true person, our circumstances regarding surviving the end, and my goals within the line of not revealing my regression. Along with that, we step into the Crystal Pavilion. I send an incarnation to reconnect with my comrades, and after sending them to the Middle Realm, I decide to summon the esteemed ones again. I'll have to become a sacred master of a Middle Realm soon. Living as a sacred master in a star system isn't bad, but the issue is there's too high a risk of abduction compared to the Middle Realms. I'll first return to Banta and make a brief stop at Banta Castle before traveling to other Middle Realms to return the symbols of their Middle Realms, then slowly consider which Middle Realm's sacred master I will become. And if possible, I'll make sure Jaeon Myung-hoon doesn't end up near the lightning sacred sea in this life. Organizing my plans, I seal the unconscious quasi-immortal within my body and prepare to use the ground shrinking technique to return to Banta. It's then, Wo Wang, the space distorts, and two sacred beings kneel gracefully in a humble manner before me. Bowing their heads deeply, they speak. We offer our gratitude to Benefactor. We are sworn sisters who were held captive by the vile quasi-immortal Yohi Li-Shi Sacred Vessel Sacred Masters Ha-Woon Cutting River and Juk-Ru Red Flood Dragon. Thank you for saving us from that licentious enemy. I immediately recognize who they are. Immortal Treasure Cutting River Fan and Immortal Treasure Red Flood Dragon Plaque, so you were sacred beings. Yes, I was captured 120,000 years ago, and my sworn sister Juk-Ru was captured 40,000 years ago. After being refined into immortal treasures by that quasi-immortal, we suffered a long, exhausting, and painful existence without being able to put any meaningful resistance. Thanks to Benefactor capturing that depraved foe, we were able to become free. We offer our deep gratitude once more. Smiling brightly as if genuinely happy just thinking about it, they bow to me once again. Enough with the gratitude. I simply happened to defeat her in the course of confronting her. Hoo-hoo, you are even humble. In any case, instead of just giving our thanks, we wish to repay Benefactor. Please accept this. It's a jade slip containing the cultivation formula for the sacred vessel stage, the advancement ritual for the entering nirvana stage, and the cultivation formula for the entering nirvana stage. Ha-Woon hands me the jade slip containing the formulas I need. Ah, thank you. However, I could have received this jade slip from Sacred Master Banta who is waiting over there. The moment I say the words, Banta, it happens. The two sacred vessel sacred beings glance at each other, then exchange a meaningful smile. Quote. Later on, Sacred Master Banta will also give you the same formulas. No, not just Sacred Master Banta, but the other Middle Realm Sacred Masters as well. When that happens, compare their formulas with ours. You will be able to immediately sense something strange. You must not recklessly cultivate the formulas given by the sacred masters. You will lose your ability to choose. Following Ha Woon, the woman in the red robe, known as Juk-ru, speaks. And, regarding that prison called the Purple Gold Realm. No, that impoverished place, I strongly recommend that you never go there. Even if you're invited. If you happen to be invited and still go, under no circumstances should you eat the food of the Purple Gold Realm. If Sacred Master Banta invites Benefactor, ignore the invitation, and if Benefactor didn't ignore it, do not follow him. Even if Benefactor do follow him, you must never eat the food of the Purple Gold Realm. And, lastly, even if Benefactor does eat the food of the Purple Gold Realm, never, under any circumstances, accept Banta's final proposal. Final proposal? Yes. If Benefactor were to consume the food of the Purple Gold Realm, Sacred Master Banta will without fail rename his residence using Benefactor's name, calling it, so-and-so Castle. Whatever happens, you must never accept that proposal. Haha, these are quite interesting warnings. Understood, I'll keep it in mind. I nod, committing their warnings to memory. From my previous life, it was well known that Banta was eager to find a successor Sacred Master. Judging by their words, Banta seems to have frequently invited sacred vessels in an attempt to make them his successor. I'll have to be cautious with him as well. I decide to be slightly more vigilant regarding Banta. Before leaving, the sworn sisters Ha Woon and Juk-ru hand me a drop of their blood. Wo Wang. It isn't actual blood but rather a collection of information imbued with their energy. It seems to be a portion of the immortal beast seed they possess. Please keep these drops of blood, and when you ever need help, call upon our names. Once in the future, we will lend you the strength of Uni's immortal art, Cutting River Kaie, and my immortal art, Ominous Dragon, Shang Long. Of course, you can also call us through the blood simply to share a cup of tea. We wish to maintain a good relationship with Benefactor in the future, so please accept them. After storing their blood droplets in my inner world, I nod. I will remember the goodwill of the sacred beings. At my words, the sisters Ha Woon and Juk-ru, having said their part, disappear beyond the space. I prepare to use the ground shrinking technique to return to the star system where Banta is. It is then, Kuguguging, quote. An immense pressure that feels like it's crushing my entire body freezes me in place. This is. Overwhelming pressure is pushing down on me. From approximately 4 sources. Those pressures press against me from different directions, and I can discern what they are. True persons. Kugugugugu. Beyond the nebula, 2 true persons resembling fish and 2 true persons resembling human-faced birds appear. Release Yohi. We are her friends. No matter what kind of entity you have as your backing, facing all 4 of us at once will be difficult. Even if you were lucky enough to defeat a quasi-immortal, do you think you can handle us? Before we tear you to shreds, hand over my Yohi. It seems they are true persons particularly close to the one I took hostage. I let out mental speech, posing a question. Are the others not coming? The others are not coming, feeling reluctant about you. They suspect that there might be a terrifying existence backing you. Or perhaps you yourself are a candidate for a true immortal's immortal treasure. But we, too, have means at our disposal. We do not fear you. Hand over Yohi. Kugugugik. It feels as though my body is crumpling. I notice their intention. They don't particularly have thoughts of letting me live and leave. Whether I hand over the true person or not, it's the same. I can feel that they have come to eradicate me, leaving no roots unpulled. 4 true persons. Could I face them? No, I can't. I have to focus on escaping. And if it's escaping, I think I can manage at least that. Fist. Starting with the oldest one. I begin to clear my throat, preparing to call upon the names of the beings I know. While it's dangerous for me too, I'll be able to deal a truly devastating hit to these true persons. Just as I am about to utter the names of the true immortals. Wu Wang. Someone blocks my front. Question mark. It's a familiar back. A wooden figure clad in white robes. Sacred Master Baek Woon has appeared before me. Baek Woon turns to face me and speaks. You've done it. You really managed to take out the symbols from the Golden Divine's treasure vault. Then, others appear to my left and right. A woman with black hair, wearing black robes. Sacred Master Yuo. A handsome man with blue skin covered in scattered blue scales and wearing an open front garment. Sacred Master Heilin. And behind me, a male sea dragon race whose face resembles one that makes me feel unpleasant. Sacred Master Yaeum. Just earlier, I felt the aura of the symbols. The distinguished one must have them, correct? Please hand them over. We will be able to withstand the end. However, at their words, the true persons erupt in fury. How dare mere sacred masters? What do you think you can do, sending clones to a place that isn't even the middle realms? Scram, we have business with him. Do. The roars of the true persons cause a corner of the universe to tremble. At their shouts, the clones of the sacred master shake as if they are about to disappear. I endure the sensation of my insides churning by the vibrations of their roars. Then, Baek-woon suddenly shouts loudly. Hand it over now. If you give me the symbol, I will help you immediately. Gal, you dare to mock us? Will you not get lost at once? I observe the reactions of both the true persons and the sacred masters. With swift judgment, I take out the stels and throw them to each of the middle realm sacred masters. Baek-woon receives the steel of the seat holder of End, vast cold heavenly lord. Haelin receives the steel of the seat holder of health, ancient force true lord. Ya-eum receives the steel of the seat holder of good and evil, nether devil true lord. Uo receives the steel of the seat holder of longevity, nether ghost true lord. And, from a far distance, Banta rushes to this place with a stern expression. He also carries the steel of the seat holder of wealth, purple gold heavenly lord. Wu Wang. 5 beams of light hum and gather at the scene. Sacred master of the bright cold realm, Baek-woon. Sacred master of the nether ghost realm, Uo. Sacred master of the ancient force realm, Haelin. Sacred master of the true devil realm, Ya-eum. Sacred master of the purple gold realm, Banta. The sacred masters of the 5 middle realms smile faintly and infuse their consciousnesses into the stels. The true persons let out roars filled with fury, and the clones of the sacred masters standing beside the stels all vanish in unison. But in the next moment, pot, centered on the stels, 5 massive dimensional gates open. Beyond the dimensional gates, Heavenly Lotus Mountain, Black Palace, Sea King Hall, Banta Castle, and Blood Sacrificial Altar. The residences of the 5 sacred masters appear, and the 5 sacred masters step through the gates simultaneously. Baek-woon begins walking forward. Thud, thud. With every step she takes, Baek-woon grows larger. At first, she is about the same size as me, but with each step, she grows to the size of a moon, a planet, and then a fixed star, until she stands eye to eye with the true persons. Wu Wang. The dimensional gate opened with the symbol of the bright cold realm. From that gate, the ferocious energy of the bright cold realm is empowering Baek-woon. Baek-woon looks down at the true persons with an ominous expression. Baek-woon, are you protecting that sacred vessel in front of us? That one has captured our friend, Yohee. If you just hand him over. In the next moment, Kwang. Without listening to further words, Baek-woon strikes one of the true persons at the entering nirvana stage, crumpling their form completely. You dare not call me senior. You impudent brat. Behind Baek-woon, the sacred masters of each middle realm begin drawing upon the power of the middle realms and step forward to block the way in front of me. The faces of the true persons, who were full of confidence at first, change drastically in an instant. The sacred masters of the middle realms, having obtained the symbols, begin to properly use their strength. Goo. Darkness surges and churns around Uo. At the same time, the dark figure of a giant flickers faintly behind her. Just as Baek-woon and Guk Kwang learned a method of borrowing the power of the Radiance 8 Immortals. She seems to have learned a method that borrows the power of a Reaper of the Netherworld. Clank. The projection of a Reaper opens the mouth of the gourd used to collect the souls of the dead. Hio. It's like a black hole in the universe. The space where the entering nirvana true persons are begins to shift as a whole, pulling the true persons into the whole. Hear us, stars of the nations, lie bang. We declare. During the time of Great Yin, the place where we reside shall be free from the netherworld's interference. The star veins writhe. Then, during the time corresponding to night, on one planet, the netherworld that overlaps with this astral realm temporarily detaches itself from this world. For the duration of one night, no one in this vicinity will die. However, Haelin's voice resounds. I will make you beg for death. Do. His body grows larger. Simultaneously, from the dimensional gate of the ancient force realm, a waterfall-like, deep sea, is unleashed into the cosmic space. The true persons can be seen frantically communicating across the distant astral realm. Judging by their frantic communication with the true persons, it seems they are requesting for reinforcements. However, the connection they sent to the other side of the astral realm is forcibly severed. The true persons on the other side have chosen to ignore them. The deep sea begins to move, centering on He Lin, and wraps around his body like armor. Watching this, I can't help but think of the clear scale armor. Finally, the deep sea completely envelops He Lin and takes shape. It becomes a colossal sea in the form of a Zyaji, more massive than anyone else present. The Zyaji slams its forepaw down. In that single strike, imbued with the authority of the ancient force realm, the nearby space of the astral realm is entirely shattered, causing a corner of the universe to collapse. Crazy. This is practically, comparable to the single strike from the sword spear Heavenly Lord. Chi. But immediately after, He Lin sends the deep sea armor back to the ancient force realm, wearing a visibly exhausted expression. For even He Lin, who can endlessly draw upon the power of the ancient force realm, to be this drained means the technique consumes an unimaginable amount of energy. Even so, to unleash power comparable to the single strike of a true immortal. This is the true power of the Middle Realm's sacred masters. Next, Ya-Eum steps forward. Ya-Eum, making an unpleasant smile, forms a hand seal and summons something from the corner of the universe, which has collapsed into an entrance to the interdimensional void. Devilish spell. Blood Yin Ghost Valley Labyrinth. Devilish spell. Blood sacrifice consuming style. Blood Yin returning home. The surroundings transform into the outskirts of the netherworld that has been eroded by the authority of the Blood Yin. At the same time, the entering nirvana true persons are suddenly connected to Blood Yin through attraction force and start being dragged into the Blood Yin realm. Exclamation mark 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 exclamation mark. The true persons scream madly and shout towards the other side of the attraction force, narrowly managing to escape Ya-Eum's authority. How dare you? The true persons glare at Ya-Eum, trembling with rage. But at the last moment, Banta steps forward. Die, you scum worse than parasites. Clench. The energy of the purple gold realm begins to be endlessly supplied to Banta. At the same time, something falls from a distant place. It is a totem pole, Jiangsung Zhongsheng. TL. Jiangsung, aka Jiangsung, is basically a guardian totem pole traditionally placed at the edges of villages to mark boundaries and fend off demons. Each and every purple totem pole are large enough to pierce through a fixed star, descending from beyond the cosmic space and embedding themselves into the bodies of the true persons. Jung. The true persons, overwhelmed by pain, begin to flee. Towards the scattering true persons, Sacred Master Baek Woon steps forward once more. The nebulas of the universe converge. At the core of the nebulas, light and heat begin to surge and churn. That light, under Baek Woon's will and the power of the bright cold realm, starts to be refined. The light takes the form of a halberd. The gigantic Baek Woon, now grasping the resplendent light halberd Guangji forged from the gathered nebula, hurls it without hesitation. Chills. From that spear of light, I recall a scene from my past life. The scene of the sword spear Heavenly Lord's sword of light flying across the universe. Zhejiang. The light halberd collapses a corner of the universe, and the true persons, sensing this, flee even more frantically. Chi. Baek Woon's right arm burns away, but she remains unfazed, slicing off her right arm entirely with an indifferent expression. She then shouts loudly, "Hear me, entering nirvanas. This Seo Unyun before you is the great hero of the Middle Realms, who reclaimed the symbols of the 5 Middle Realms from the bird of the tyrannical Golden Divine. Henceforth, any being who dares oppress the great hero of the bright cold realm shall face me, Baek Woon, personally." Her voice reverberates across the entirety of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain. This is sacred masters who have gained the ability to wield their power even within the astral realm. In truth, sacred masters capable of drawing power from the corpses of the Middle Realms are no different from true immortals. I gaze up at the sacred masters in awe of their power. Pot. Soon, the sacred masters return to their original forms. Baek Woon taps my collarbone lightly with her left arm, praising me. You are a great hero. To accomplish in such a short period of time what no esteemed one could achieve. Thanks to you, we have regained the strength to endure the end. As a senior of the bright cold realm, I am deeply proud of you. He Lin approaches with a pleased expression. I don't know if you remember. Last time, I issued an exile order because you learned the phenomena extinguishing mantra. I believed it would benefit you more to cultivate hidden in the depths of the deep sea rather than staying in the sea domains of the ancient force realm. That's why I expelled you from the sea domain with that exile order. There was no malice behind it. By the way, after you left, Yuk Rin completely lost his mind. Attempting to challenge the realm of esteemed ones, he fell into madness, mistaking himself for Yukong. In the process, he destroyed an entire sea domain and is now sealed. Would you mind, briefly, stopping by the ancient force realm to check on him? He mentions Yuk Rin's situation and suggests I visit the ancient force realm. Thank you for the suggestion. Ah, by the way, I approach Yuo, who is standing among the sacred masters. It's been a while, Sacred Master Yuo. Question mark. Now that I look at it, it's not that face. Last time, I had a brief chat with the back of Sacred Master Yuo's head. By any chance, did the back of your head tell you anything? Question mark. Yuo's expression begins to take on something peculiar, and I can't figure out what she is thinking, leaving me pondering how to continue the conversation. At that moment, Ya-Eum approaches me with a faint smile. Ho ho, when I first heard about you from Baek Woon, I thought you were just a cheeky heart tribe esteemed one. But now, you've become a respectable Taoist. Sacred Master Ya-Eum, the title of Taoist is still a little burdensome. To be precise, hearing the term Taoist directed at me from that face is very unsettling. It looks far too much like Xiao Weiol. At my reaction, Ya-Eum chuckles and nods his head. Understood, Cultivator Xiao. Then perhaps we'll discuss titles again once we're better acquainted. By the way, Cultivator Xiao. Yes, I am reminded of when Cultivator Xiao was below the heavenly being stage. Was it just a few hundred years ago? I recall when Cultivator Xiao brought the heavenly lightning banner to the true devil realm and attempted to send it below the void spirit pond. Ah, yes, to me, it's something from hundreds of thousands of years ago. Back in the golden divine heavenly thunder sect days, such an event had indeed occurred. Incidentally, I do have something to say regarding that. Because of Cultivator Xiao bringing the heavenly lightning banner back then, there were changes in the flow of attraction force, which in turn altered the fate and ecology of the living beings in that area. I believe Cultivator Xiao should visit the true devil realm to check on it. The region where the void spirit pond is located is, of course, the area where Su In and Hong Yian reside. There were changes in the area where those two live. It definitely seems like something I need to confirm. Indeed, that is partly my responsibility. I should go and take a look. Exactly. Since we're on the topic, why don't we briefly go take a look right now? Wo Wang. Ya-Eum casually uses the power of the symbol to open an interdimensional gate connecting to the true devil realm, then grabs me and casually pushes me inside. Before I know it, I find myself stepping into the true devil realm alongside him. Just as I'm about to cross into the true devil realm. Quaching. The entrance to the true devil realm is violently warped. Baek Woon, Heilin, Yuo, and Ban Ta. The other sacred masters each strike the entrance with their respective attraction forces. Among them, Ban Ta, in particular, has a twisted expression resembling an evil spirit. What do you think you're doing, Sacred Master Ya-Eum? Ban Ta growls as he approaches Ya-Eum. Ya-Eum, smiling faintly, replies. Ho ho, Sacred Master Ban Ta. Why are you so worked up? This is just. Then, quack. Ban Ta kicks Ya-Eum squarely in the shin. With his face fully distorted, he glares at Ya-Eum and speaks. Is this the time to be laughing, Ya-Eum? The smile from Ya-Eum's face disappears as he meets Ban Ta's eyes. I don't see what the issue is, Ban Ta. Are you saying this, not knowing my situation? No, ignorance would be preferable. Because if you knew and still acted this way, I'd want to invade the true devil realm. Kudududuk. Ban Ta grabs Ya-Eum by the shoulder and presses him down. Ya-Eum furrows his brows as if trying to resist, but his waist bends slightly under Ban Ta's pressure. Ban Ta, with his face twisted like an evil spirit, glares at the other sacred masters. Seniors Baek Woon and Yuo. And Heilin, what's going on with you? Are you mocking me right now? Don't you well understand what I'm feeling right now? At those words, Baek Woon sneers and responds. What's the issue, Ban Ta? I have no intention of doing anything in particular. I only meant to briefly invite him to White Jade Pavilion for some commendation, since he's a native of our bright cold realm. Heilin laughs at Baek Woon's remark. A native of the bright cold realm, you say? How amusing, Senior Baek Woon. Xiao Eun attained significant enlightenment in the ancient force realm. Wouldn't that make his origin the ancient force realm, where he acquired the greatest enlightenment? Yuo also joins the conversation all of a sudden. My apologies for interrupting, but if we're going by that logic, he could also be considered a native of our nether ghost realm. Just look at the power of death brimming in his soul. And everyone here saw him fleeing from Blood Yin. That strike at Blood Yin's hand was definitely the thick power of death. He is undoubtedly a native of our nether ghost realm. I must speak of this matter further. Ho ho. Rather, the one who should be speaking about this is me. He is our true devil realms. And then, Banta, seething with rage, roars at them. Fine, you dog bastards. After all the years I've waited, are you telling me none of you are willing to yield even a little? Greedy fools. In that case, I have no choice but to settle this with strength. Banta forms hand seals. Once again, totem poles descend from beyond the universe. At the same time, the other sacred masters also begin drawing upon their authorities. Chuck, 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 chuck. The 5 sacred masters from the middle realms take combat stances, encircling me in the center as they suddenly prepare to fight. 505. Doo-dook, doo-doo-dook, goo-doo-doo-doo-dook. The sacred masters who are beginning to draw upon the power of the middle realms. These beings, who are virtually no different from true immortals, begin to exude their rank. The sheer intensity of their rank alone causes the celestial energy in the vicinity to flicker and distort countless times. As expected, I can't defeat the sacred masters of middle realms. Sacred masters of star systems and those of the middle realms are similarly formidable within their respective domains. Of course, even when they are said to be similar, the sacred masters of the middle realm have a slight edge. However, it's a different story when it comes to external attacks. Sacred masters of the middle realms can perfectly unfold a defensive battle by drawing on the complete corpse of the true immortal that constitutes their middle realm when external attacks come. Additionally, they can open a pathway to outside the middle realms through the symbols, enabling them to counterattack even against true immortals in case of emergencies. But sacred masters of star systems are different. If a true person at the entering nirvana stage were to attack from the outside the star system would crumble from the periphery, leading to inevitable defeat. This is because the defensive power of the star systems, which they are harmonized with, lacks the absolute quality. To overcome the sacred masters, it would be better to I recall the move of Kunlun. Unless I can unleash an attack that approaches the domain of pure death, on the level of Kunlun, there is absolutely no chance of victory against the sacred masters of the middle realms. Suddenly, a thought regarding Jang Ik crosses my mind. Jang Ik never feared Baek Woon. Perhaps, if it's Jang Ik, who has reached the pinnacle of the second step before the throne, he might have a single move capable of seizing victory against such sacred masters. It might very well be the hidden something I sensed from him the last time we met. Of course, I'm not overwhelmed by Baek Woon either, but to a certain extent, that's because of the immortal arts and names of true immortals I know. It is thanks to that incomprehensible knowledge that I have. If I were to face Baek Woon relying solely on my own abilities, I wouldn't remain as Seo Eun-yun but instead, Seo the Firewood. That's why I've always harbored an instinctive fear towards Baek Woon, born from a fundamental difference in weight class. Even when I tortured Baek Woon last time, it was only possible because I had the asymmetrical advantage of Yang Soo-jin's Thunder Spears and Jaeon Myung-hoon. If it had been me alone, I wouldn't have dared. Shaking my head, I feel cold sweat running down my back as I stand before the sacred masters, whose momentum grows ever stronger. As long as one isn't a vegetable, one can understand. These individuals are not simply trying to invite me. They're trying to capture me and turn me into a sacred master. In truth, aside from Banta, the other sacred masters also harbor significant desires for successors. However, I never expected them to be this zealous. Banta growls. 500,000 years. 500,000 years. I've endured this accursed purple gold realm for 500,000 years, pretending to be a king and even naming my castle Banta Castle. Baek Woon, back then, you were one of the true persons who captured me and made me the sacred master of the purple gold realm. How can you be so shameless? At this, Baek Woon sneers. What does 500,000 years matter? After all, as cultivators, we must all become accustomed to eternity. It's not even a long time, so don't make such a fuss. And captured to become the sacred master, you say? Weren't you the one who agreed willingly? You even said it was necessary for your cultivation, so I gave you the entire purple gold realm. Yet how is it now my fault for your failure of not being able to raise a successor? I, on the other hand, even willingly lowered my realm by one step to become a sacred master for the sake of the greater good. At those words, Ya-Eum lightly interjects. Apologies, Sacred Master Baek-woon, but wasn't the so-called greater good you speak of simply the decree of the Radiance 8 Immortals? At the time, I don't recall there being any particular reason for the Sacred Master to take charge of the Bright Cold Realm. It was simply a command from the Radiance 8 Immortals that happened to benefit you personally, was it not? Calling it for the greater good, or whatever is a bit unbecoming to look at. This brat thinks he can say whatever he wants just because he has a mouth. What starts as a mere argument between the Sacred Masters begins to escalate as their auras swell. Their intensifying auras swell to the point of nearing an explosion. Then, just as their auras reach the brink of exploding, let's not do this. I have a good solution. What is it? At Ya-Eum's words, the Sacred Masters collectively stop their quarrel. He smiles faintly before turning his gaze towards me. That is to simply. Then, just as he seems about to say something, he suddenly reaches out towards me quickly. Quah! It feels as though a colossal sea dragon is flying towards me. I narrowly evade Ya-Eum's strike, and the other Sacred Masters immediately catch on to what's happening. The classic, first to catch wins situation. Startled by this incredulous turn of events, I quickly retreat. But the Sacred Masters, their eyes now ablaze, rush after me. Wait, Seo Eun-yun. Where are you going? Come now, Cultivator Seo. Just stop by Banta Castle for a moment. I've even prepared a feast for you. Drop by Banta Castle and enjoy some food before you leave. Ho, Cultivator Seo, I have some important information to share with you. Won't you listen for just a moment? It's about Purple Soul filling the heavens. They push and shove each other with attraction force and spells as they close in on me. Then, they begin quickly hurling something constructed of consciousness towards me, and I can't help but be struck by some of them. These are sacred vessel cultivation methods. These are sacred vessel cultivation methods unique to each sacred master of the Middle Realms. Look, Seo Eun-yun. The cultivation method of our bright cold realm is the most superior. No, look at the purple gold realm. Do you know what I've been doing for the past 500,000 years? This is the sacred vessel stage cultivation method I've spent 500,000 years researching in the purple gold realm. It is by far the most superior sacred vessel stage cultivation method. While throwing their sacred vessel cultivation methods at me, they beckon me to come to them. Finally, when they chase me down to the point where they are once again right before me. As expected, now is not the time to become a sacred master. Starting from the role of protecting the middle realm. During the end, it's not something a novice sacred master like me can accomplish properly. This is the time to lay the foundation. Even if I do become a sacred master, it should be after the end, during the era of creation. With a faint smile, I speak to the sacred masters. My apologies, but this junior feels it is still a bit too early to take on the position of a sacred master of a middle realm. I will wander the astral realm for a little longer and decide then. With those words, I immediately draw the colorless glass sword and slash towards the void. Hidden heavens beyond the path. Pot. In the blink of an eye, I vanish from the sacred master's sight like a mirage. The sacred masters, unable to grasp the situation for a while, erupt into fury. Youdarescape. Unleashing the power of the middle realms, the sacred masters begin to devastate the surroundings with terrifying authority. Quick judgment. Upon seeing me disappear in an instant, they seem to have deduced that this is not a teleportation spell or ground shrinking technique, but some form of stealth technique, and they respond by unleashing wide area attacks. But it's unfortunate for them. If there is one problem, it's that their opponent isn't an ordinary beginner at the sacred vessel stage, but me, someone who has risen to the sacred vessel stage through the three great ultimates. Pete, I retreat to the most concealed place within the plane of soul, distancing myself far from them. My All-Heavens sword, which already allows me to traverse planes, has now been enhanced with hidden heavens beyond the path. Not only can I send myself into the plane of soul, but I can also shift all my traces and all premonitions regarding me into the depths of the plane of soul, allowing me to temporarily vanish completely. Temporarily, no history, no foresight, can locate me. This feat is an extraordinary technique that even Jangit cannot replicate, only made possible because of my advancement to the sacred vessel stage, significantly enhancing my control over the plane of chi and my power within the plane of fate. I swiftly escape from the grasps of the sacred masters and head towards the path of stars. First, I need to head to the Lightning Sacred Sea and inform the esteemed ones that the search for the symbols has concluded. After arranging for them to return through the path of stars, I'll have to make contact with that guy. Wo Wang. The celestial energy in the vicinity shifts. It seems the sacred masters are performing divination. However, when even foresight fails to reveal my presence, they appear flustered. I've temporarily hidden myself from foresight using hidden heavens beyond the path. But as soon as that technique wears off, they'll pinpoint my location immediately. I need to proceed quickly. I arrive in the peaceful cloud realm, leaving behind an incarnation to both observe the sacred master's movements and to ensure that I'll notice any anomalies occurring in the realm. With that arranged, I immediately activate the path of stars and head towards the Lightning Sacred Sea. Wo Wang. I quickly move along the path of stars. Unlike when I had activated it as an esteemed one, activating the path of stars now at the sacred vessel stage allows me to pass through far more bases at once and activate teleportation arrays with much greater speed. In what feels like an instant, I arrive at the Lightning Sacred Sea. For now, directly entering the Lightning Sacred Sea is absolutely out of the question. Doing so would result in an immediate confrontation with Golden Shaking Bird. I send an incarnation into the depths of the Lightning Sacred Sea. Not long after, several figures emerge. It's the heaven-collapsing esteemed one Zhang Ik and the Lightning Sacred Sea expedition team. After explaining the situation to them, I inform them that the path of stars has been reactivated and that they can immediately use it to return. At first, they appear slightly suspicious, but as those deeply connected to the middle realms, they seem to vaguely sense that the symbol have returned to the realms and show signs of acceptance. Understood. Someone of the sacred master level wouldn't deceive us for fun. Then, let us meet again in the middle realm. With that, they step on the path of stars. Then, Zhang Ik locks eyes with me. Just what exactly did you do? His eyes widen, not at anything else, but at my realm. No matter how much we of the Heart Tribe grow rapidly with just enlightenment, there's still a certain degree of gradual cultivation jianshu that must take place. Just how did a brat at the first step before the throne reach the second step before the throne in just a few hundred years, and the two while cultivating heaven and earth dual cultivation alongside it? He seems to find it a bit absurd. I lift the colorless glass sword with a grin. Would you care for a match? In my past life, I was paralyzed with fear by the perfect circle shown by Hayaongui and couldn't raise my sword. Because of that, my exchanges with Zhang Ik were limited to the chopstick fight, and we never truly fought head-to-head, leaving a sense of regret. But it's possible in this life. As I stare at Zhang Ik with a faint expression of anticipation, he speaks again. Let's save it for later. Pardon. Slightly taken aback, I question him again. The Zhang Ik is holding back from a fight with me. A fight with a strong opponent. However, I immediately understand from Zhang Ike's next words. It seems that for the two of us to truly exchange enlightenment, we would have to stake our lives. In other words, if we were to fight, one of us would have to die. It's not a situation where one side can hold back against the other. He smacks his lips and says, before dying, shouldn't I at least leave some final words for Cedarwood Grove and visit the graves of my other disciples you've killed? So, as much as it pains me, let's postpone our duel for now. Understood. Since it's a reasonable suggestion, I slightly smack my lips and decide to settle things with him at a later time. Zhang Ik turns around, about to step onto the path of stars, but suddenly stops and looks back at me. Do you know why our Heart Tribe's territory is called Cedarwood Grove? Pardon, isn't it simply because there are a lot of cedar trees? And, why do you think there are so many cedars planted in the Heart Tribe territory? With my abilities, I could have easily cleared them all in an instant and planted any other crop that would be more useful. Why do you think I deliberately created a cedar forest? Is there some reason for it? Of course there is. The details are. As though recalling something, Zhang Ik furrows his brows. But he shakes his head and says, Go visit the peaceful cloud realm. The fighting spirit of the small green race there, you human race call it martial arts, right? Anyway, if you trace back the origin of peaceful cloud realm's fighting spirit and martial arts, you'll find something interesting. Something interesting. The origins of martial arts. Could this be related to why Hayaongui blocked them specifically in the peaceful cloud realm? Yes, I will look into it if I get the chance. Good. Look for it at least once. What there is in the peaceful cloud realm greatly helped me in conceptualizing the realm of 3 steps before the throne. With those words, Jang Ik disappears beyond the path of stars. Was there such a secret hidden in the peaceful cloud realm? I feel a bit of surprise at Jang Ik's words and gaze momentarily toward the lightning sacred sea. The esteemed ones have all been sent back. Now, the various forces of the middle realms should remain stable until the end. The lightning sacred sea, too, will not be entered anytime soon. No, until I reach the entering nirvana stage with the three great ultimates, I absolutely must not go in. Even if I do enter, it will only be through an incarnation. Now, there's only one thing left to take care of. Come out, I murmur while gazing into the darkness of the astral realm. Weol, it's been long and even longer. Now, the time has come to bring this to a conclusion. From within the darkness of the astral realm, a familiar face suddenly emerges. As I thought, he, who had fallen to become a blue earthworm in the previous life, has now been restored in this one. When the white wheel reversed, my canvas of myriad forms and connections that felt a twisting sensation when Weol was erased, became comfortable again, leading me to suspect his restoration. It's truly astonishing, Taoist Seo. Ho ho, to think that in just 800 years, you would elevate the three realms of heaven, earth, and heart to the level of immortal arts and reach the sacred vessel stage. From mocking blood yin, to defeating a true person, to eluding all the sacred masters of the middle realms, such divine feats are truly. Weol, I cut off his words. I pull out Ran, who resides within my body, before Weol. Ran looks around the surroundings, as if unable to grasp what's going on. Meanwhile, I can feel Weol's excitement as he senses Ran's aura. Oh, Ran, what's this? It's truly been a long. And, just as Weol begins moving toward us, I firmly grip Ran's neck and shove his soul and body directly towards the netherworld. Among the four worlds overlapping the astral realm, Ran's nascent soul and spirit tremble towards the netherworld. Ran, with his low cultivation, doesn't even understand what's going on. However, Weol and I both know that his soul could fall into the netherworld at any moment. This is a technique only possible after reaching the sacred vessel stage. Anything I hold in my grasp, I can now cast into the netherworld, source river, eastern heaven flower field, or interdimensional void at will. Don't move, I might drop Ran by accident. Of course, I have no intention of doing so. Ran is, in the end, my friend. I truly feel sorry for doing this to him, but there is no other way to see Weol's most genuine face. To be honest, anyone who knows me well would understand that I would never throw Ran into the netherworld. I absolutely cannot do it. Because he is my friend. Because even if, to the current Ran, I am just a senior held in high regard, to me, he is someone I feel a deep connection with. In short, what I'm doing now is nothing more than an obvious bluff. A cheap bluff that even third-rate villains wouldn't stoop to. However, Weol wipes the smile off his face completely in response to this petty, almost laughable bluff. What are you trying to do? I already know Ran's true identity. I believe I told you not to move. If you activate even the slightest bit of tainted soul filling the heavens, I'll let go immediately. I can feel gazes from all corners of the universe. They are the gazes of the tainted soul filling the heavens entities unleashed by Weol. Distant stars, nearby stars, all living beings dwelling in those places stop what they are doing with solemn expressions and turn their attention towards me. Senior, what are you saying? Ran looks at me with slight confusion and asks. However, I remain silent. Weol, too, doesn't say a word. Then, a moment later, finally, Weol casts aside all his masks and speaks to me with a solemn expression. What do you want, Unhyeon? Everything of yours. For the first time across 999 lifetimes, I have grasped Weol by the throat. For the first time in nearly 1,000 lifetimes, I have gained the upper hand in my confrontation with Weol and demand what I want. All your secrets, confess them. Weol, now that your main body has been exposed, I hold absolute superiority over you. I won't negotiate. I won't make any deals. If you utter even a single sly word, Ran will be disposed of immediately. Wo Wang, I distort the space around us, forming a small dimension on the spot. Just as Blood Yin had done to me, it serves both as a reception chamber to hear Weol's words and as a barrier to prevent him from escaping. As if it's a part of the colorless sword enclosure, it is a world bristling with swords protruding everywhere. And then, in the next moment, thud, Seo Wei-ol, his face devoid of expression, kneels before me for the first time. This yearn for reunion with Seo Wei-ol no longer makes him seem as towering as before.